What's going on, fellow A-Plusers? It's your boy, Adam Perez. We're back once again with a brand new live episode of A-Plus Hero Report, your weekly stop for your Marvel, DC television, and movie news, streaming live for you guys today. We got 6 incredible topics that we're going to dive into as we have ourselves a possible update in regards to the X-Men MCU film, as they potentially may have landed themselves a director. We're also going to get into Bob Iger talking about the brand new Marvel Studios strategy, certainly moving forward. We got some DC studio updates and a first look at the upcoming The Conjuring Last Rites. All that, a ton more. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. I'll see you on the other side. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is I, your host, Adam Perez. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers certainly out there, as we're definitely celebrating here today. Wherever you guys are certainly watching today's show at, I hope you guys are having a fantastic weekend, to certainly say the least. We got a stacked show today, some honorable mentions, some 6 main topics, some live viewer questions that we're going to be tackling for you guys at the end of the show. But if anything, it is just I, Adam, today. Solo dolo. Was not able to get Stuart on today. And I'm still keeping my fingers crossed for Indy, man. Hopefully Indy pops up here relatively soon, man. I'm counting the days. I'm truly counting the days to when we have Indy certainly back. But it's just myself today, man. So we should certainly have a fantastic show. If you guys want to submit any live viewer questions over, you certainly still can. You definitely have time. Go over to our YouTube channel, click on that post tab, and voila, there is a live viewer question post for you guys to go ahead and submit your stuff over. And then if anything, we'll get to it towards the end of the show. Your boy needs a haircut and I gotta shave. I'm gonna see if I can set up a haircut appointment sometime next week, because I'm feeling like a hobo at this point in time, especially with the summer about to hit here. All this hair is gonna make it hot out here in Texas. So wherever you guys are at, let me know. Shout out to you guys in the live chat. Remember, as we go through some of these topics today, these are simply just my A+ opinions. I certainly always want to know yours. What did we do this week? We had a fantastic Star Wars Andor live discussion. I don't know if you guys have been checking out Andor lately, but episodes 7 through 9 dropped. We had our High Council come together to go ahead and discuss those episodes. That is currently up on our YouTube page right now if you want to go ahead and check it out. Dropped a couple of shorts as well throughout this week for you guys to certainly check out. I went to the movies a couple times this week. I had the opportunity to check out The Accountant 2, which was a nice follow-up to the original Accountant. I personally still think I like the first one a little bit better, but this one was had its fun dynamic to it for sure. And then I also went ahead and checked out another movie called Watch the Skies. I did do a review on it. I went ahead and dropped that review on our channel yesterday. If you guys are not familiar with that film, I give you a little bit of insight in regards to what Watch the Skies is all about. If anything, I'll probably put together a report card list. We did that. We've been unveiling report cards for movies that we've watched, like our top 5 movies of the month. We did that for April, towards the end of April, or maybe like the very beginning of May for April. And I intend to do the same thing towards the end of May, very, very early of June, to go ahead and highlight our top 5 movies of the month that we wind up seeing. So I'm filling out a ton of report cards. I'll unveil a lot of the report cards of the movies that we've certainly been watching and reviewing for you guys. But let me know what you guys think. But yeah, we continue to have great content here. Stuart actually went ahead and dropped the Tales of the Underworld, the Star Wars 6-episode animated season. He dropped his review for that the other day also. So a lot of fresh content around here, guys. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel, man, please go ahead and do so. If you like our content, especially subscribe to the channel and really hit that like button. It takes 1 second out of your day. It's free, and it definitely helps out the channel and in some incredible ways. But yeah, guys, feel free to certainly leave your thoughts. And remember, at the end of the day, these are simply our A+ opinions. We always want to know yours. So as we go through some of these particular topics today, feel free to go ahead and if you're in the live chat, let us know your thoughts on some of the topics that I dive into, because I love conversing with you guys, and especially since it's just me here today. I don't have anybody else's brain to pick in regards to Stuart not being here or Indy. So really counting on you guys to certainly help out in the live chat and give me some of your thoughts in regards to some of the topics that we certainly break down today. I've been trying to keep a really close eye on some of the box office lately. There are two movies that I've been really keen on seeing how they're going to be doing financially. First is Sinners. Sinners, at this point, for people who don't know, has already broken even. Any money at this point that Sinners makes is really profit for the studio. So this is another huge win for Ryan Coogler in here. I think it's racked in over $260 million already worldwide on a $90 million budget. So Sinners has turned profitable at this point in time. And I do believe that they are set to go ahead and re-release it in IMAX formats, I believe, beginning on the 15th of May. So they are re-releasing it. So this movie will continue to make money, and I think continue to prove that Ryan Coogler is somebody you want to bet on. If you're a studio and he's got an original idea, or even if you want Ryan Coogler to come in and work on an IP, this guy just does not miss. Ryan Coogler has been hella impressive, as Sinners right now is at the point of turning a profit. I am waiting to see what weekend numbers are going to be like for Thunderbolts. Thunderbolts, in order to turn profit, or at least to break even, has to make around $460 million. And something tells me it's at, I read something on Twitter. I don't know if it's true or not, that worldwide they're already at like $260 or $270 million worldwide. So it is potential that it could possibly get there. But I want to wait until the weekend numbers officially hit before I make that announcement here. But we'll see what the pacing is like for Thunderbolts. But I always tell people all the time, while I think a studio certainly looks at how successful a movie is based off of what the box office return is, I always like to tell people, regardless of how much a movie makes at the box office, does not tell you how good a movie certainly is. Box office results, I always find, show how popular a movie might be at one particular point in time, but the quality of the film isn't necessarily always shown in the box office. So I've been hearing great things about Thunderbolts. We love Thunderbolts around here. A lot of people that certainly have checked it out. It's got incredible scores. This really feels like an incredible MCU film, back to basics, back to form. And if you haven't checked out Thunderbolts, do yourself a favor, go to the theaters and certainly check it out. But let's get into some look. You guys know I love to shout out people that are watching this live, that are leaving comments. So let's go ahead and show some appreciation for some people today. We got Enrique Perez in the house. What's all going on, man? He said, saw the new official new IMAX and final trailer for the live action How to Train Your Dragon with more scenes, and they'll be arriving in theaters soon. Yeah, I believe tickets are on sale right now for How to Train Your Dragon. I think it releases like the first week in June, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong, but yes, they did drop a brand new IMAX final trailer, and it looks incredible. They really highlighted sort of the flying sequence with Hiccup and Toothless, and I think if there's any reason for me to go ahead and see this movie in IMAX, that one scene alone has my attention. Official new trailer for Gabby's Dollhouse, the movie based on the Netflix series and its third DreamWorks animated film, right after Bad Guys 2 in September. I don't know if I'm familiar with that one. Also, it's confirmed the second season of Tales. Yeah, we're going to get into that news, Enrique. Don't get ahead of me. Don't get ahead of me. Yeah, and you have another announcement in here that I think we'll be talking about also. But did I add that to? Let me see if I added that image. I don't think I did. Thank you for the reminder, Enrique. There is something real quick in honorable mentions I want to get into that I thought I clipped out and put in the lineup today, but I clearly missed it. But thank you for that reminder. What else we got in comments here? Ram Jam in the house. What's going on, Ram Jam? He says I went back to watching all the Super Sentai crossover movies. That's a heavy lift, man. Heavy lift. Shout out to you, Ram Jam, for that commitment, man. We got Billy in the house. I'm gonna see Thunderbolts this Tuesday. We'll let you know my thoughts on it after I see it. It's great to hear, Billy. I'm really glad that you're getting an opportunity to check out Thunderbolts for the first time. I'll try not to spoil it for you too much. We do have Thunderbolts non-spoiler and spoiler review for Thunderbolts on our channel. That's how I knew I was a really big fan of this movie, because it's been a minute since we've actually done like a spoiler review for an MCU film, but Thunderbolts was like, I gotta talk about it. So me and Stuart definitely did. But look at that. People still going to see this movie 2 weeks out. So appreciate that, Billy. Indy in the house. What's up, Indy? Good to see you, man. We're patiently waiting for your return. The anticipation is boiling over, my guy. I feel like every week we're like, Indy's coming back. Indy's coming back. So hopefully we'll have you back sooner rather than later. But yeah, guys, share these videos, like these videos, certainly help out this channel for sure. We're streaming live over on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. So wherever you're certainly watching us from, give us a shout out. Let us know where you're checking out today's show from. Indy says next week for sure. Okay, man, I'm holding you to it. I'm holding you to it. Stuart will be back next week as well. And if you guys want to go ahead and submit your live viewer questions, certainly go ahead and do so. But with that out of the way, let's go ahead and kick off our first segment of the day. And we're going to get into honorable mentions. And for those of you who don't know, when it comes to honorable mentions, these are topics that we felt you certainly deserve to know about, but didn't quite make our cut for top 6 topics to be discussed here today. First up in the news, Ted is back, believe it or not. Yes, I know Ted currently has a live action television prequel series, but more Ted is on the way. According to Variety, a Ted animated sequel series is set over at Peacock. You're also going to be having Mark Wahlberg, Amanda Seyfried, and Jessica Barth returning. So yeah, more Ted is on the way. It says Peacock is doubling down on Ted, with the streamer ordering an animated series based off of the film franchise. While the plot details are under wraps, the animated series will take place after the events of the 2 Ted live action features. McFarlane will once again voice Ted, and then a lot of the cast reprising their role. This is going to be the second Ted TV show on Peacock, as the streamer is currently airing a live action prequel series, which launched back in January of 2024. So yeah, more Ted is on the way. Next up, we actually had ourselves believe it or not, a really, really early teaser trailer for Godzilla x Kong Supernova, as we got the official title and logo reveal for the next sequel in this monsterverse, if you will. Really, the teaser that wind up dropping was very brief, but it shows, it's really the process of showing us that the film is currently in production right now. Filming has begun. And this was their way of revealing that to us, that film has begun rolling here. So this is, in fact, the official title, Godzilla x Kong Supernova. Could we be getting a monster from outer space? Possibly. We'll have to see how that turns out. Next up, this is something that Enrique was kind of teasing us a little bit about. But Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Season 2 set to premiere during the 4th quarter of 2025. The second season of Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is slated to premiere later this year. Paramount revealed this in the May 2025 issue of Toy World magazine. While they didn't mention a specific month, fans can expect to see new episodes on Paramount Plus between October and December of this year. The first half of the season actually dropped. Well, I think they dropped last year, right? I want to say it says, yeah, all 12 episodes of the premiere season originally made its debut on Friday, August 9th of last year. Um, and then it actually aired on Nickelodeon here in the US just recently, as of February. So this is actually a continuation from Mutant Mayhem. These tales are really supposed to be bridging the gap between the next Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles animated film. So yeah, if you haven't checked out season 1, it is currently available. Check it out over on Paramount, and then season 2 dropping between October and December of this year. Next up, we got some big Spider-Man news here, some casting announcements, if you will. According to Deadline, the Bears' Liza Colon Zayas joins Spider-Man Brand New Day. She's a fan favorite from the FX series The Bear. She has officially closed the deal to join Spider-Man Brand New Day, the fourth installment of the Spidey saga from Sony Pictures and Marvel Studios. A lot of people right now, because of just her Puerto Rican descent, there are a lot of people right now speculating that she could potentially be playing Miles Morales' mother. Which would be pretty interesting. I would be kind of curious to see if that is in fact true. I have no idea when. I'm trying to still figure out, when does Beyond the Spider-Verse release. I can't remember the release date. I thought that they might have announced it at CinemaCon, but I'm losing my train of thought as to when they might have announced it for. Whether that comes before or after Spider-Man 4. But maybe this is the beginnings of trickling some connective pieces here. I don't know. That's just simply rumor. That's just a speculation right now, that this possibly could be Miles Morales' mother. But we'll definitely keep you guys up to date in that regards. Secondly, or lastly, last a second, Supergirl has officially wrapped production. This is an image that was released from the hair, makeup, and prosthetics department. It says 4 months, 3 countries, blood, sweat, and tears in cinemas next June. We have been getting some confirmation that some of the actors on this set have sort of filmed or wrapped their filming. Jason Momoa as Lobo wrapped his filming several weeks back. I believe the gentleman that plays Kara Zor-El's father in the movie wrapped up a couple of weeks as well too. So according to the hair, makeup, and prosthetics department, it has officially wrapped. And now they got about a whole entire year ahead of schedule in order to go ahead and finish with special effects and any sort of pickup shots or reshoots that they certainly might need to within the next year. So Supergirl has wrapped production, now moving into post-production. And then last but not least, we got some great Superman praise from none other than the Warner Brothers executives. Again, Pam Abdi and Michael DeLuca teased that the early cut that they've seen will be worth the wait. They just when did this drop? This dropped back on May 5th, so in the early beginning of the week. The executives talked about the idea. I think this is Mike DeLuca. He says, I used to chase James as a producer when he did Slither and started with his low budget movies. He's really unique, and I think DC is in great hands with the two of them. He says, we've seen an early cut of Superman. I don't want to bury the lead. There's a lot of marketing about to roll out ahead of its release, but he really understood the assignment. His heart's in the right place. His aim is true, and we're really excited about their new version of DC. And then Pam says, yeah, James Gunn is great. So yeah, look, look, they're the executives of Warner Brothers. They're not going to come out and say that this movie is absolutely horrible, but they could also not say anything. But I don't know. There's something about how they describe certain things, how they talk about Superman that seems rather genuine, that doesn't feel like just a copy and paste of what normal executives would certainly say. So for me, I definitely want to believe them, but we'll see what the movie is going to be like. They say they're about to roll out a lot of their heavy marketing at this point, and they should. We've got like 2 months left before this movie is actually released, literally about 2 months from today, we will be getting Superman. I have been hearing rumors also that the trailer is set to drop later this week. We did get the Peacemaker trailer, which we'll probably view and talk about here in just a little bit. But I have been hearing rumors that Superman's trailer may be dropping this week. So we'll see. Maybe like Wednesday or Thursday is what I was hearing. We'll see if that kind of comes to fruition though. But yeah, guys, that will do it for all of our honorable mentions here today. We got Ram Jam in the comics. I'm still waiting for the live action Last Ronin movie to come out. Yeah, I still expect that movie to definitely happen. I thought maybe I was hearing like fans wanting them to talk to the actress that played April O'Neil to possibly return in that film. But other than that, I haven't really heard any actual like movement on the project. So I'm hoping that it's still in pre-production. But yeah, guys, let me know some of your thoughts on the honorable mentions that we certainly talked about here today. In fact, let me before we move forward, I want to make sure that I get some of these videos ready. I think there's 2 trailers that we might check out today. I'll make sure I get these trailers ready. Okay. Cool. All right. With that out of the way, guys, let's get into some of our main topics today, shall we? We got some incredible ones. I'm really excited to go ahead and certainly talk about this. We've got some John Wick news. We also got some Bob Iger discussing Marvel Studios' new strategies. We're going to be talking a little bit about the Peacemaker trailer that wind up dropping, probably watching a little bit of it also. But our main story today is, look, I'm always excited when there's movement in regards to the world of X-Men. It has been a minute, a really long time since we've actually had ourselves an X-Men movie, but they might have possibly found themselves their director, as X-Men is certainly going to be back in the news to start us off here today. I don't remember the last time outside of Deadpool versus Wolverine, I can't remember the last time we had ourselves an X-Men movie. Was that The Last Stand? The Dark Phoenix one that Simon Kinberg like wrote and directed? It's been a minute, but I'm ready to kind of get back into this world. I think there's a ton of great storytelling that could certainly still be done. We do know that when it comes to our next time that we will be seeing the X-Men in some capacity will in fact be Avengers Doomsday. They have already announced that a lot of the X-Men from the Fox universe, Patrick Stewart coming back as Professor X, Ian McKellen as Magneto. We even have Alan Cummings as Nightcrawler is coming back. Channing Tatum's going to be reprising his role as Gambit. James Marsden is coming back as Cyclops. We got a lot of moving pieces, and that may not even be the end of the X-Men announcements. I'm still waiting to hear from Hugh Jackman or even Halle Berry to maybe reprise a role as Storm. I have no idea if they've invited these people. They didn't make the cut in regards to the casting announcements originally, but we are expecting more people to be in that film. And that might be the last time that we get the opportunity to see the 20th Century Fox X-Men universe in some capacity before Marvel decides to go ahead and reboot the franchise and bring it into the MCU fold. We've got Fantastic Four right around the corner to go ahead and drop this July, another Fox product that got bought up by Disney, and now they're making their sort of MCU debut. And the mutant saga is certainly upon us. A lot of us are certainly expecting that after Secret Wars, we'll probably get ourselves a heavy dose of X-Men in some capacity. But before you get an X-Men movie, you need to land a director. And it seems as though we might have found it. This report actually comes to us from, I believe this is deadline.com, saying that X-Men movie at Marvel Studios circling Thunderbolts director, was that Jake Schreier? Yeah, Jake Schreier to assemble the new team. So it looks like Jake Schreier, you might be up to bat after his success so far when it comes to doing Thunderbolts. Um, this is what it says. It says this is an exclusive. Following the successful launch of Thunderbolts, director Jake Schreier might already have his sights set on the next big Marvel Studios project. As sources tell Deadline, he is in early talks to direct the studio's new X-Men movie. It is unknown where things stand in the deal making process, but insiders say that following a meeting this past week, Schreier looks to be the top choice to take on one of the studio's most anticipated projects. Michael Leslie penned the script with Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige currently producing. Marvel Studios currently has no comment. The studio has been taking its time finding the right person to take over the directing duties and has made it clear it doesn't want to rush the process, similar to how it handled pitches from potential writer candidates last year. After months of meetings, momentum started to favor Schreier when early reactions to Thunderbolts began to trickle out about a return to form for Marvel Studios. The film opened with an impressive $162 million globally, as well as some of the best reviews in years for Marvel. Marvel and Schreier had an incredible experience working together on Thunderbolts, a film that has since won over critics and fans, becoming the best reviewed film since Spider-Man No Way Home back in 2021. So it's been a while since they've had sort of like this level of success. While the recent meeting sealed the deal, Marvel execs were well aware how much Schreier loved the X-Men comics, and early sign that he would ultimately get one of these meetings to pitch his vision of what a new X-Men movie would look like. Even before the reactions began to come out about how impressive Thunderbolts was, studios already were trying to get in business with the director, but sources say in recent days he has begun turning down jobs, as all signs were pointing to him landing one of the most coveted directing openings in town. It is hardly a surprise that Marvel would stay in-house for this film, given how often it has rewarded directors with big assignments following the success of previous jobs. And then they point out the idea of like the Russo brothers and things like that, having success on the Winter Soldier, and then being brought in for things like Infinity War, along with Endgame. Oh, and also Civil War, to certainly say the least also. So right now, it looks like good old Schreier here might be next up in regards to really taking over for the X-Men here. And to be honest with you, I really love this. I really love this move. If you've had the opportunity to check out Thunderbolts, I won't give spoilers or anything like that away. But I think when it comes to X-Men, you first off, you got to have a director that works great with an ensemble cast. And if there's anybody that works great with ensemble cast, Schreier is definitely more than capable of doing that. He did an amazing work for working on Star Wars Skeleton Crew. I think he might have directed like 2 or 3 episodes of that season. Incredible work there. He also was coming fresh off of the Netflix series Beef, in which gained a ton of Emmy nominations for how good that show certainly was. I believe he was the director for the entire series, if I'm not mistaken. But he did great work on that. And I think that's really what won him the job in regards to directing the Thunderbolts movie. What was really impressive for me just watching him when it comes to the Beef series is that he's got a really great he's very well balanced in regards to having different sort of types of filming techniques. I think he can get very intimate with his filming. He can really dive into action incredibly well. You saw some of the really standout action pieces from Thunderbolts, but when it comes to sort of like the emotional character perspective, I think he directed the hell out of those and really got the best performances out of his actors. So I think Schreier here is a really big choice and a big win for Marvel Studios, certainly going forward, if this in fact holds true. Now, again, it does say that they are very much in early talks, but I do think it's important to understand that if this guy's already turning down other job opportunities, he must have something really brewing. I am kind of curious as to who else might have been on Marvel Studios' radar to potentially do this film. Sometimes Marvel working in house can be um, a blessing and a curse. I don't necessarily know if it's worked out for them all the time, but after the great success that is Thunderbolts, I can see why they certainly would have brought in somebody like Schreier to go ahead and take over for their mutants. I think he's earned certainly a lot of trust here. And while look, I'm going to be honest with you. I think a director is certainly um, key and pivotal, certainly to the success of a movie. Just as important, though, is the writer of the film. And if I could be honest, they did go ahead and highlight the gentleman Michael Leslie, who has won out the writing gig for this movie. Um, if there is any trepidation that I have towards this move to the movie, it's possibly the writer. I'm not to say that he's terrible or anything like that, but um this is his past work. Eleanor was actually a pretty good film that he wound up doing. I didn't get the opportunity to see Macbeth, but he also did the screenplay for Assassin's Creed, the Michael Fassbender film, which I was not necessarily a big fan of. I didn't get the opportunity to see The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, but he also wrote that one as well. So I don't know. I feel like could we potentially get a good film out of him? Maybe. But then I think we could also get ourselves an Assassin's Creed. And I don't know how fond I am of that, but maybe considering the fact that Schreier had to kind of pitch his vision for what he would like to see the X-Men be, maybe him and Michael Leslie will get the opportunity to work really closely together in regards to putting this script, or maybe making any changes kind of going forward. If anything, maybe they might bring in an additional writer to take sort of like a second pass at the script itself. That's certainly something that happens in Hollywood, certainly all the time. So I am kind of, if anything, if there is anything that makes me trepidatious about the X-Men film, it is the idea of Michael Leslie being the screenwriter. I really would have liked to have them found somebody that's a little bit more powerful in regards to their writing. So we'll see. We'll see what we wind up getting out of it. But if there is any reason for me to be excited, having Schreier at the helm as the director definitely gives me confidence here. He's just somebody that I think could really do it all when it comes to the big screen. And I think something like the X-Men fits right up his alley in regards to what it is that he's trying to accomplish here. So I think this is an overall really great move here by Marvel Studios. But yeah, man, I definitely want to know what you guys think about this particular pickup here. I almost look, and it's one of those things too, where like it's been a long time since I've actually found myself wanting to go see a Marvel movie in theaters for a second time. Like back in the day, I used to be like, I could never get enough of Marvel. Like I used to literally go catch the film and then maybe in a couple days later go ahead and revisit it. Like they were that good. It's been a minute since I've wanted to do that, but Thunderbolts is certainly one of those films that I'm just like, yeah, you know what? This is a movie that I really, really, really want to watch again. And so yeah, so while I don't think Schreier is the complete Thunderbolts vision in regards to how it's presented to us on screen, some of the cinematography, scene selection choices. I mean, there's some great action pieces in Thunderbolts, from the Florence Pugh hallway scene in the very beginning of this film, when you've got the mercenaries all attacking each other in the middle portion of the film, along with some of the sequences that we wind up getting towards the end with like even the sentry battle and stuff. So I think he's got a really great eye for action, surprisingly. And I say surprisingly because when I remember watching him in the Beef series of Netflix, it was a very sort of human centered story, really focusing on characters and their growth, the issues that they had between people, their own sort of inner struggles that they certainly tackled. And then there was like one particular episode of Beef that I that was so action oriented that for a second I thought to myself, like, am I even watching the same show? Like it was really that distinctly different, but it showed the range that Schreier is certainly capable of. And I'm so glad that he got the opportunity to really highlight that in something like Thunderbolts. And again, when you've got great talent like Florence Pugh, David Harbour, Sebastian Stan, John Walker, well, I think those actors are good enough to help elevate a script. I think they definitely elevated the already great script that Thunderbolts certainly had, but as a director, to be able to kind of get the best performances out of those actors is even that much more important. And I think we get to see something like that highlighted really well when it comes to the Thunderbolts film. So you kind of take that and you put that into sort of the focus on mutants, people that already feel like shunned from society, segregated, if you will, dealing with their own pushback from humanity. Again, I don't know what the script calls for when it comes to Michael Leslie, but I do think having a director that can kind of tap into something like that on an emotional level, Schreier is a fantastic choice to be able to do that. So I expect an X-Men film that's not just going to be action heavy and oriented, but really getting to the understanding of who these characters are, certainly as mutants and characters within this world that clearly kind of hates them. So I'm really eager. Again, I'm eager to see if they'll ever reveal who else was in the running for this. But I'm glad that. Because look, I can tell you right now, after Thunderbolts, I'm pretty sure Schreier was going to be a hot commodity for studios. So the fact that he's now turning stuff down tells me Marvel Studios understands exactly what they have. And I can't think of a better person. Like right now, thinking of like some of the other Marvel movies that we've had, I can't really think of anybody else that I would rather have tackle an X-Men movie than Schreier, because it is important to be able to handle an ensemble cast and a number of people and allow everybody to kind of get their opportunities to shine on screen. And I think he handles that extremely well. So great choice, if you ask me, when it comes to the X-Men film. Again, it says it's in early talks, but I think at this particular point, I don't know anybody else's name that's popping up. And with him turning down roles, like I said, it feels very much like this one is certainly in the bag. When we get an official announcement, who certainly knows? Maybe that's something that they'll tackle come Comic-Con, maybe after Avengers Doomsday. We'll see how long Marvel Studios holds on to this bit of news and information before they make it successful. Because I don't think you want to undercut the excitement level for Avengers Doomsday, but maybe putting out some early stuff about the X-Men might get people kind of excited. And one of the things I will say too about Thunderbolts, um, not just it feeling like it's back to form, but it feels like it's pushing the narrative forward in regards to building up that level of anticipation of what's to come, kind of flowing us into the anticipation for Fantastic Four. And I expect the Fantastic Four to also get us hyped for something like Avengers Doomsday. So I'm feeling this excitement level around Marvel Studios that we haven't necessarily felt certainly in a really long time. And I think maybe further announcements for X-Men down the road will definitely help that out. But look, I want to know your guys' thoughts. Jack Schreier, if you've or Jake Schreier, I can never. Am I pronouncing that right? I'm just gonna call him Schreier. He's been in early talks to helm X-Men going forward. If you've seen Thunderbolts, if you've seen Netflix beef, if you've seen any of his work in Star Wars Skeleton Crew, I definitely want to know your thoughts. Do you think this is a good pick? Did you personally have another director in mind that you certainly wanted to go ahead and see direct X-Men? How do you guys personally feeling about this? I definitely want to know your guys' thoughts in the comment section box below. I'm gonna take a sip of this coffee. Give me that energy that I need. We got a couple of people watching us today over on YouTube, along with us over on Twitter. Hit that like button, man. Share this video. Definitely helps us grow. Maybe you're watching us over on, where else does it say? We got a Twitcher. Who's watching us from Twitch? Chime in. If you're watching us over on YouTube right now, chime in. Let us know who's checking us out, where you're watching us from. If you're watching us over on Twitch today, chime in the comments. We'd love to see who's talking to us today. Share these videos, like these videos. It really does help, guys. We'd appreciate it. Speaking of building of the momentum of Marvel Studios, we should look forward to what Marvel Studios has in store for us, because the strategy certainly is changing here. I've been kind of excited ever since we got an announcement a long time ago that Marvel Studios has aimed to maybe shorten some of the, or lessen some of the content that they've been putting out there. And really kind of getting a focus back. I've said this before. I think while it was very detrimental to the movie industry, the writer strike and the actor strike, I think, really gave Marvel the opportune time that they needed to kind of take a step back and realize what wasn't working, and make some immediate changes, certainly, to things. Some things benefited and some things didn't. I think Thunderbolts definitely benefited from it, being able to bring in additional writers to tighten up the script. Things that maybe didn't work so well, the Brave New World sort of thing. But so maybe Marvel, maybe especially when it comes to their television stuff, maybe a little bit behind the 8 ball, but it does feel like changes are certainly coming. And this week we had Bob Iger discuss sort of the brand new strategy kind of moving forward. And we also had Kevin Feige, I think maybe last week, gave some statements that I thought would be interesting for us to highlight, to talk about the direction in which Marvel Studios is certainly going. So let me bring this up. This is comes to us from Variety. It says, Bob Iger says Thunderbolts is the first and best example of Marvel's new movie strategy. We lost a little focus by making too much, is what he says. Says Disney's CEO Bob Iger hold on a second. Let me there we go. Has admitted the company's film slate has struggled in post-pandemic times by focusing too much on quantity and not enough on quality. He says, however, Iger views Thunderbolts, which debuted last weekend to $76 million, as the first and best example of the studio's new priority to make better movies, even if that means there are fewer of them. He says, we all know that in our zeal to flood our streaming platform with more content, that we turn to all of our creative engines, including Marvel, and had them produce a lot more. We've also learned over time that quantity doesn't necessarily beget quality. And frankly, we've all admitted to ourselves that we lost a little focus by making too much. By consolidating a bit and having Marvel focus much more on their films, we believe that this will result in better quality. I think the first and best example is Thunderbolts. I feel very good about that. It says Thunderbolts, which centers on lesser-known heroes compared to Captain America and Thor, started slower than most Marvel installments, but analysts believe it'll hold steady at the box office because critics and audiences embrace the film, which boasts an 88% on Rotten Tomatoes and an encouraging A- on CinemaScore. It appears to be a step in the right direction after a string of dismally reviewed films like Brave New World, Quantumania, and The Marvels. Disney is also stoking interest in Thunderbolts by revealing the meaning behind the asterisk in the film's title. The ragtag group at the helm will henceforth be known as the New Avengers. They will make an appearance in the upcoming Doomsday movie. He says, I have a lot of confidence that at our upcoming slate referring to films like Lilo and Stitch, Zootopia 2, Fantastic Four, and Avatar Fire and Ash that will close out 2025. Then in 2026, there's The Mandalorian and Grogu, Avengers Doomsday, and Toy Story 5. That's quite a lineup, he says, adding it's as strong as any slate I've seen in a long time. So Disney could be racking in a ton of money here within the next couple of years, or year and a half, I should certainly say. But Bob Iger feels good. Look, I will say, kudos to Bob Iger, and I say this all the time, but you know, sometimes you got to admit your faults. Sometimes you got to be able to look at your failures. If you're not capable of seeing the failures that you're making, then you're incapable of making sort of any level of changes that certainly need to be made. And the fact here that Bob Iger's calling himself out in a sense that, like, look, we wanted to flood our streaming platform with more content, which I think is kind of understandable when you think about it in hindsight. The idea that after, at least during the pandemic, a lot of things shifted to the to streaming services. A lot of people weren't going to the movie theaters. It felt very much like how we view entertainment was certainly changing around us, like in real time. And the two things, the pandemic really forced them to then want to go ahead and make more content, to go ahead and bolster their streaming services. And some of it, honestly, was probably out of greed in regards to wanting to satisfy their shareholders. But clearly, that was not the right choice to certainly make. And the fact that you got somebody like Bob Iger calling it out, I think as a leader, you should be able to call yourself out in regards to the mistakes that you've made. And he says, look, we've also learned over time that quantity does not necessarily beget quality. And frankly, we've all admitted to ourselves that we lost a little focus by making too much. And so they're now going to be pulling themselves back a little bit and really focusing on the quality of filmmaking. And when it comes to Thunderbolts, I think that's a really great sign, certainly, of things to come for this company. I expect Fantastic Four to be just as good, if not better, than Thunderbolts. And we got the Russo brothers certainly returning. Now, the Russo brothers themselves have not necessarily been the best on their own. I think they have worked incredibly well within the Marvel Studios sort of machine, but on their own, not so much. It is also informative to add that the Russo brothers are not writing Avengers Doomsday alone. They do at least have one of their partners that it's returning from Infinity War and Endgame to certainly help them out. So that certainly gives me a little bit more hope here. It's a little concerning and worrying that I don't, to be fair, I don't necessarily know if Doomsday has finished its script, or if it's like, hey, we've got a script, but we're constantly working on it as we go in regards to filming. That's always kind of nerve-wracking to hear. But the fact that they took the opportunity to kind of make some changes to Brave New World, a film that was kind of underwhelming for me personally, but at least they tried it, brought in new writers for Thunderbolts to go ahead and give a new pass. I do think that we might have a string of great sort of MCU films that they can certainly benefit from. And while some people might say a little bit too late, I think if you can give us a great Thunderbolts movie, a great Fantastic Four film, um, a great Doomsday movie, then you got another Spider-Man movie, Brand New Day, dropping between that and then Secret Wars. If Marvel Studios could literally hit on the last 5 of these movies, because of the fact that they decided to take a step back, focus now on the scripts and the quality of these movies, if Marvel Studios could legit give us 5 bangers back to back to go ahead and end off this saga here, the momentum that they would then carry into their next saga of films or next phases of films, especially if they now have that focus of quantity or quality once again, man, we could really be sort of on a tear here. And I kind of appreciate him talking about focusing on the films, because I think that's even something that Kevin Feige is now recognizing also. This is an article from comicbookmovie.com that highlighted quotes from comments from Kevin Feige in a recent Wall Street Journal. He says Kevin Feige reportedly believes the MCU has become more like homework than entertainment recently. It says, let me see if I can find it. An article from the Wall Street Journal has shared additional insights into that, revealing that Kevin Feige realizes that Marvel Studios has created a no new fans club. Apparently, he recently told his um, Marvel Studios colleagues that watching every new Marvel TV show and film had started to feel more like homework than entertainment. As a result, they are now moving to only 1 or 2 live action shows per year. There's also a belief that these series will be a little bit more standalone, like Daredevil Born Again, to avoid fans feeling like they need to see everything on the small screen to understand what's happening on the big one. He says earlier this year, Marvel television boss Brad Winderbaum says, frankly, in all honesty, there was a mandate to kind of create as much as we could for Disney Plus, kind of echoing what Bob Iger says, as quickly as we could. And then there was a shift, and all of a sudden we have to, start spreading our release dates out. And so I think that this is really revealing for Kevin Feige to kind of make these sentiments. But I guess there's a part of me that is, I don't want to say I'm baffled by this, but there is a part of me that thinks to myself, like, you guys didn't know that this was going to happen. And I say that because, I said this back when the MCU was just movies, right? It was one of those things where it was very easily able to be followed. If you've seen the movies, they just kind of all connect. Their main storylines were just in the movies. And then we had a whole Marvel television side of things that had television series that were not connected to the bigger role MCU, but maybe took place in that world, but still felt standalone, right? Like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. might have had connections to the MCU, but the MCU never really acknowledged them. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. were never fully dependent on what the MCU did. They were still capable of doing their own stuff. We had Runaways. We had Cloak and Dagger towards the end. We were supposed to get ourselves a Ghost Rider film or a Ghost Rider television series also. All of that being disconnected from the MCU. So we've had a time period when the setup that they're now going to, we once had. But after the success of Endgame, there was a really big shift over at Marvel where they decided everything that we make going forward is going to be connected to the bigger overall MCU. They canceled all of those shows because they wanted them to now become Disney Plus streaming shows to be a part of the bigger MCU. And I said at the time that I thought that that was certainly a mistake, because now you were then relying on everybody to have to now watch the movies and the television shows at the same time to understand what the hell is even going on. And so the fact that Kevin Feige says we've kind of made like a no new fan club, in the sense that the Marvel Studios is not, like, the MCU films are not as easily accessible to people as they once were. And when you start introducing all these brand new characters into the Disney Plus television series and then just roll them into Marvel movies, like, people are supposed to know what's going on, that could definitely be a turnoff for some people, in the sense of no longer knowing who these characters are, not feeling connected to the overall narrative anymore, and really displacing a lot of new fans. And I think that's really what certainly have hurt not only the idea of the Disney Plus shows, but then the lower quality, because you're just putting out so much, doesn't necessarily draw in people like it certainly used to. So the change of strategy here is really important. And the fact that Kevin Feige also recognizes the idea that maybe these Marvel Studios, Marvel television shows being on Disney Plus and everybody being within the MCU and it's all connected isn't as smart of an idea as they initially thought. Whereas it maybe only works when it comes to the movie side of things, but maybe not so much on the television side of things because it does feel like homework. And I know some people want to push back on the idea of like, oh, oh, just watch these reviews or just watch these recaps and stuff. And that's good and all. But that's also considered additional homework, right? Like general audience members just want to be able to go to the movies and feel like they're thrown into this world and understand who all these characters are. When I go back and I think about the Marvels, while I certainly appreciated it, I don't think they fairly broke down who Miss Marvel even was, who Kamala Khan certainly was. So her having such a big role in the MCU and then being thrusted into the Marvels, if you didn't see Miss Marvel television series, yeah, maybe it's a cool addition to a character, but do you really know her? Are you really connected to her? Have you really fully embraced her? And I think there's things like that. So even same thing with Tayana Parrish as Monica Rambeau. I mean, we kinda saw her as a little kid in Captain Marvel, so that connection is certainly there, but the idea of like, "Wait, this person has abilities? How does she have abilities?" Like, all that stuff didn't even necessarily even get explained in the Marvels, and I feel like if you are gonna introduce people like that into the television realm and then bring them into the movies, you gotta be able to better explain them and have better writing in the sense of not just assuming that people know who these characters are. And now we have Marvel recognizing, yeah, maybe we should have just kept things the same. Like maybe we shouldn't have messed around with the Marvel television the way that we certainly had it, because I think it works in the sense of now you can go back to the drawing board, have the movies, have the bigger overall story arc that gets focused on. So then just the movies have the option of focusing on it. You don't have to worry about the television side diluting and putting other bigger connective pieces together to the overall movie arc of things. Then you could just have these standalone television series that maybe still live in this world, but reference things instead of being so dependent on it. And I think something like a Daredevil Born Again certainly works. They've name dropped, I think, Spider-Man or the Spider Guy or whatever the case may be in Born Again season one. You can have little things like that, but just kind of go back to the drawing board. And one of the worries that I had initially was like Cloak and Dagger. When is the MCU ever gonna use Cloak and Dagger in there, right? Like there are just immediately some characters that you don't get the opportunity to tell stories for that are in Marvel comic books because maybe they don't necessarily fit in the bigger sort of MCU. And now I think with the focus of Marvel television, realizing like we can make these our own standalone things, I think it really opens the door for a plethora of other characters that they can now tackle, that they don't have to worry about, oh, is this person going to become an Avengers? Is this person going to be in a bigger crossover event sort of thing? Now you can just literally focus on any character that you want and tell a standalone story, multiple seasons for them, and really get back to basics. So I think the idea of separating the television and the movies was always the way to go. I didn't agree with them when they canceled that idea. But I'm glad that they recognized that enough to now kind of go back to how the way things certainly were. And if the movies start focusing on the movies and start pushing out better quality, not allow Kevin Feige to be sort of run so thin and he can actually focus on the movies and the main arc, then we might be back to the golden ages here of Marvel Studios. But again, I think if they can knock out banger after banger with Thunderbolts, give us a great Fantastic Four movie, the two Avengers films, and a Spider Man, if they can really focus their attention on making sure that the scripts for all of those films are tight, and work really well in regards to telling a cohesive and ending off this phase in a really great way, you can really gain that momentum back kind of now going into the next phase of things. So I'm excited to see where they go from here, but I think the new strategy is one that certainly will work going forward. Blossom, what's up, Blossom? Shout out to you. Appreciate you certainly coming through today. Marceline says most of the decisions of quantity over quality were done by Bob Chapek, and he wanted to beef up Disney Plus. Yeah, and this is why he's no longer here for sure. You're definitely right. I mean, Bob Chapek came in at a really unfortunate time, taking over for Disney during the pandemic. And he really wanted to bolster Disney Plus, I don't know if anybody in that position certainly could have succeeded, but I think Bob Chapek certainly did a terrible job. Wound up bringing in his friends. Talk about like nepo baby positions. Bringing in friends, bringing in people that really didn't know how to run certain departments, and it really showcased itself. Really bad decision making. It's funny that fans say the shows feel like homework when for years during the Infinity Saga, the fans asked the connectivity between shows and movies. They wanted this and asked for this. You're absolutely right. I was certainly never one of them. I really appreciated the ability to have them separate because I was a fan of shows, the lower budget shows. I thought Runaways was a really good show. Cloak and Dagger. I look, it might have been sort of low budget, but I was a really big fan of the first season of Cloak and Dagger. And I knew that this would immediately sort of cancel out the opportunity to tell stories for some of these lesser known characters because now you were moving into a position where you would only tell stories about characters that would have some sort of immediate impact into the bigger MCU. I would agree with you. I definitely did hear a lot of fans that certainly asked for the idea of like the shows and movies certainly being connected. But yeah, it was certainly a really big mistake. I remember back in the Infinity Saga where fans frustrated that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Netflix show weren't super connected and they wanted the TV characters to be in the movies. Yeah, I definitely hear what you're saying there. It doesn't mean that was a sort of right decision, but I can see what you're saying. They never did pull that trigger with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And they never did with the Netflix shows, and yet they were still really successful. So yeah. So now that fans get what they wanted, now they regret it. Fans clearly don't know what they want. I mean, we say this all the time. I mean, this is why I tell people, creatives to never pander to the audience or never pander to fans because um, even when they do get something that they ask for, they're um, certainly never happy. But that's not to say that Marvel couldn't have done a better job about things. I think had they not focused so much on putting the quantity out there and focused on the quality of things, I think when you introduce them television wise, if you keep that mindset of understanding that your general audience may not watch these shows, then you can go into your movie making with the sense of we have to make sure that we have a much better quality script of introducing the characters. So, is this to say that we live in a world where, or there could have been a world where this could have been successful? I think it could have been, but it was the lack of focus on scripts and the quality of the stuff that they were putting out there and just assuming that all the fans of Marvel would watch all these television shows and also continue to watch the movies at the same time. And when you do that, you also have to remember you're then asking the general audience, people that are, that's why he says this feels like it's not like a no new fan club, that general audiences can't just come into these movies anymore. And had they decided to stick with the plan of, all right, if the fans want all this to be connected, that's cool. We can certainly still do that. But the focus then turns to the movies in the sense of you have got to write great scripts in order to connect these pieces from the television series that have not been introduced to the general audience and reintroduce them. And maybe for some fans, it would feel like rehashing, but as a movie, you have got to appeal to the general audience instead of just your Marvel fan base. And if they had focused on that, then maybe we would have had ourselves a much better turnout for that. So it could have worked. Unfortunately, the execution of it was just really piss poor. And I think the Marvels is a showcase of that in the sense of introducing us poorly to Miss Marvel, if you ask me personally. And the same thing with Captain America 4. I think a lot of what was missed in Captain America 4 was already talked about in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which I think almost would have made a better Captain America 4 than Brave New World certainly was. But those inner struggles of Sam, I think, need to be highlighted on the big screen, even more importantly than just the television series, right? So that's where, if you're going to put all the stuff out there and you're going to connect Marvel television and movies, you then also have to pay very close attention to the script and assume that you're making a movie for people that have not watched this television series. And unfortunately, they just didn't. So we're back to the basics now. And I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it. I'm kind of glad that we're going back to the basics. And I'm hoping that they keep the main arc of the movies in the movies. But yeah, guys, let me know what you guys think about the new strategy. And is Thunderbolts giving you any confidence in that regards? I definitely want to go ahead and know your guys' thoughts on that. Let's go ahead and change course from the MCU to the DCU as Peacemaker is back in the news. We're getting ready to dive into James Gunn's DC Studios and DCU this year. We've got Superman that's going to be dropping in July. And then the very next month, we're going to be getting ourselves Peacemaker Season 2. Which is now also going to be included within the DCU. So James Gunn's getting the opportunity to tell his overall connected story here, kind of going forward. And we wind up getting ourselves a brand new Season 2 trailer for Peacemaker, our really first sort of look at this brand new series. It is fascinating that this comes before even getting an opportunity to see another trailer for Superman. But as I said at the top, I do expect Superman to drop a brand new trailer sometime this week. I've been hearing rumors possibly of Wednesday or Thursday. So let's keep our ears closed. But a new trailer wind up dropping here for Peacemaker, our very first look at the series. And if you haven't had the opportunity to check it out for yourselves, let's go ahead and give this one a look-see. See how this one's coming together. Let's check this out together.
They're going to be doing backflips to get you to join.
Welcome, Peacemaker, or do you prefer Chris?
Either's fine.
Can you tell us a little about your skills?
I'm considered the finest marksman in the world.
The mic is off.
Yeah.
I am also proficient in hand-to-hand combat.
How many more of these do we have today?
Is that popcorn still here?
You love popcorn.
My buzz is getting really big lately, so.
I have a variety of helmets.
This guy sucks.
Excuse me? Am I supposed to be able to hear you guys?
Excuse me?
You were talking about your butt and stuff?
Your butt and stuff.
And also you said that I suck.
It is not funny.
First off, I do love the idea that we immediately have our connection to the bigger overall DCU here. We have seen Hawkgirl and Green Lantern in the Superman trailer already. We also get the opportunity to see James Gunn's brother, Sean Gunn, in here as Maxwell Lord for the first time. This is our very first look at Maxwell Lord. He is supposed to pop up in the Superman movie, I believe, in some capacity. I don't know how big or small his role is. We get to see a little bit more of the personality from both Green Lantern, Guy Gardner Green Lantern, along with Hawk Girl herself. I didn't when I watched this trailer the first time, I did not catch the idea that Hawk Girl was talking about her butt, that her butt's been getting really big lately. Clearly she loves her some popcorn. I love this laugh from Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner here. But look, we're getting back to what James Gunn does so well, and that's his quirky humor for this series. And I cannot wait. But it looks like he's trying to get a job here within the Justice League International or Lord Tech team, whatever team name that they have for themselves here. But apparently they forgot to shut off the mic. So let's go back, check this out.
Can you tell us a little about your skills?
I'm considered the finest marksman in the world.
The mic is off.
Yeah.
I am also proficient in hand-to-hand combat.
How many more of these do we have today?
Is that popcorn still here?
You love Bob Gord.
My butt's getting really big lately, so.
I have a variety of helmets.
This guy sucks.
Excuse me. Am I supposed to be able to hear you guys?
Excuse me?
You were talking about your butt and stuff. And also you said that I suck.
I really love that laugh of being busted. I absolutely love it.
It is not funny.
I don't get it. We saved the world.
I thought everyone would finally treat us like heroes.
I don't need anybody else to just forge my own path.
You're living in the worst level of Grand Theft Auto.
I come to the conclusion you suffer from a particularly severe form of toxic masculinity.
What?
Argus has been monitoring Peacemaker ever since Rick Flag Sr. was named director.
Oh,
Does he know that I have?
Kill this time? Yeah.
Bring me.
yo, I cannot wait for this story. This is really the story of Peacemaker season 2 that I'm really fascinated with. The fact that we're bringing in Rick Flag into live action. He is going to be in Superman also, but this is where we're going to really get Frank Grillo as Rick Flag Sr. And if you guys remember from Suicide Squad, John Cena's Peacemaker wind up killing Rick Flag Jr. So there's definitely some animosity here and some drama. And the fact that we're finally going to have a confrontation between these two, I cannot wait to see how this certainly goes down.
Peacemaker.
Mexicali, you scan for any anomalies throughout that house. Pony boy, don't let him out of your sight. Titties, I want you to take the front door. Encino man, you take the back door. Got it?
Yeah, but not the fucking names, dude. You can't just call us that.
What do you think we are? Fucking Berkeley?
You know, the unapologetically just rude as hell. I fucking love it. I laugh every time I hear, "Hey, titties, get the back door." Like it gets me every time. He's such a badass.
Great people. But
We are the 11th Street Kids. No one will ever break us apart.
you ready for the next adventure, pal?
Nice.
Who the fuck are you?
You know, so we do get to see him traveling.
You ready for the next adventure, pal?
So we see him kind of going back into like this otherworldly like portal, going back into this other room here. And there are some people that are kind of wondering if to whether or not I've been seeing people theorize the idea like, is this the DCEU Peacemaker facing off against the DCU Peacemaker? I certainly don't know, or if this is just another alternate version of Peacemaker that he's going to find himself kind of bumping into. I was kind of always under the impression that Peacemaker season 1 still held true to the events of DCU, with the exception of just the Justice League scene at the very end. I mean, the trailer itself even talks about, you know, them remember that they saved the world sort of thing, and that, you know, the world should be appreciative of the things that Peacemaker has certainly done. So to me, it kind of already implies that they are in the same world. So I don't know if this is necessarily a DC EU Peacemaker facing off against the DCU Peacemaker, or if this is just another sort of alternate world, because heaven knows when it comes to DC, they got plenty of alternate universes out there. So this could simply be something else entirely. But yeah, that is in fact the brand new Peacemaker trailer. And they wind up even dropping a brand new poster for us also. I'm gonna look up the cast names one more time. You know, I gotta say, I think for me, I think the standout in this trailer, believe it or not, for me personally, is Jennifer Holland as Amelia Harcourt. There is just something really funny about the idea. Like you're dealing with a masculine toxic masculinity, and it turns out to be Amelia. And she's like, what? And then the very next scene that we see is she's just like destroying her dashboard, which I find absolutely hilarious. But I'm really looking forward to this, man. I truly am. I'm ready for us to get back to the crazy antics. I know some people didn't necessarily care for the personality of the vigilante. That it wasn't necessarily comic book accurate. I can definitely understand that. But I do like this group of characters together. I think what Peacemaker the first season did for me was really grow a family of really obscure characters. You know, I think they were a part of Argus under Viola Davis's Amanda Waller, but maybe they separated themselves, I think, or separated themselves from Argus, because clearly Argus is now being run by Rick Flag. And I can't remember the relation that what is it, Daniela Brooks, who played Leota. I can't remember who she how she was related to Amanda Waller, if it was like niece or something like that. I don't think that was like her daughter. Was it? Somebody remind me. It's been a minute since I've seen Peacemaker. I might have to go back and actually do a rewatch of the season itself. But this is everything that I expected from a season 2 trailer. We got a little bit of Eagly in here. We got a little bit of the humor also. I think, you know, looking at the trailer alone, and especially like some of the reactions that John Cena has as Peacemaker to some of the reveals of Rick Flag, the very end here, being surprised, or, you know, having a gun cocked to the back of his head, him celebrating with some of his people. You know, I was thinking to myself the other day, like, you know, I really appreciate Dave Bautista as an actor. And there's a part of me that thinks like Dave Bautista one day will maybe win an Oscar for something, or at least be nominated for something. And after watching John Cena, I really do think that he is gaining some range too. I think he could probably do emotional beats pretty good. I want to go back and watch him in Peacemaker season 1, but I think it's going to ask even more of him here in season 2. So I am really fascinated to kind of see where John Cena goes when it comes to his acting career. But I think him teaming up with somebody like James Gunn allows him to really grow his range and really add some depth and layers to his performances for some of these characters. So I'm really looking forward to this. I love the fact that we initially already got a connection to the bigger DCU of things. And then on top of that, got the opportunity to see some of the fan favorites, the return of some of these characters, especially seeing the progress or how much Jennifer Holland has grown for Amelia Harcourt. I think hers is going to be like the second storyline that I'm kind of most excited to see unfold in here. But for a teaser trailer, or I should say, the official teaser trailer for Peacemaker season 2, great way to go ahead and unveil us back into this world here. And it feels like James Gunn is certainly going to be back in his bag again. So Yeah, Marcelino says daughter. That's why I said I couldn't remember if it was her niece or her daughter. But yeah, thank you for reminding me. So yeah, we'll see what her role certainly is when it comes to Peacemaker season 2. But I'm really excited to kind of see the growth of a lot of these characters, honestly. But yeah, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section box below. James Gunn said that season 1 of Peacemaker will be canon to the DCU, while season 2 will be canon to the season 1 of Peacemaker will be canon to the DCEU, while season 2 will be canon to the DCU. Okay, we'll see how that turns out. If you slow down the scene where Adeo's wife, you can see her tag say CC Jitters, the same coffee company that frequently appears on The Flash. That's cool. That's cool. I like bridging that gap a little bit. But yeah, man, let me know what you guys thought about the season 2 trailer. What are you guys looking forward to the most out of this season? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section box below. And with that out of the way, we will stay in the realm of DC, but we are going to move over to Clayface and talk a little bit about Clayface here today, because there has been, I don't want to say a disturbance in the force, but this news dropped this week, and it definitely got some DC EU fans a little bit concerned and worried in regards to the development of this particular movie. Now, as of right now, Clayface is still set to go ahead and get into production later on this year, I believe in October of this year. And then it's set to release in September. So things are certainly still on course. But apparently from a new article here from the Wrap, Clayface may have gotten a new writer on board, which is interesting. Let's go ahead and dive into this. This is from the Wrap. It says DC Studios taps writer Hossein Amini to rewrite Clayface. This is an exclusive report from them. So let's see exactly what it's saying. It says Mike Flanagan wrote the previous draft of the script. Screenwriter Hossein Amini, best known for scripting 2011's Drive, has been tapped to rewrite Clayface for DC Studios. Mike Flanagan wrote the previous draft of the script. James Watkins, who directed last year's remake of the Danish thriller Speak No Evil, is attached to direct the film. It says the film is scheduled to begin production in October in the UK. It says, known as one of Batman's most unique villains, Clayface was originally introduced, it says, as Basil Carlo in the comics, a horror movie actor who went mad. He later gained the ability to shapeshift and transform his body into any form by turning himself into clay. It says DC Studios will release Clayface on September 11th in 2026. Amini's other credits involve a 4-episode stint on the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, which I wasn't necessarily it was I kind of want to go back. There were some highlights to the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, but fell short certainly in other ones. I think the series itself certainly could have been a little bit better. So he's most notably known for the Obi-Wan Kenobi series along with Drive, but according to the Wrap, he is coming in to rewrite Clayface for Disney Studios. I am curious as to how much of a rewrite this will be. If this is going to completely change what Mike Flanagan has initially set in place, or if this is to kind of go over the script and maybe do like a second draft or third draft of the script. You know, the idea of having multiple rewrites of a script is not out of the norm. I think what's out of the norm and maybe catching some people's attention is, you know, James Gunn has talked very openly about the idea like we're not going to move forward with production until we've got a script that's ready to go. And the fact that they've already announced sort of like a release date, a pre-production date, or a production date for this movie, they have a director set. They already had the initial script from Mike Flanagan here. You would be under the impression that everything is truly ready to go for this film. But clearly that's not the case in this regards. The idea, if anything, I am kind of curious as to how many scripts Mike Flanagan wrote. Now, if Mike Flanagan just wrote the first script, usually the first pass of a script usually isn't sufficient. You're usually going to have multiple rewrites of a script. So, if anything, this kind of shows to me a little bit the idea that Mike Flanagan had a great outline of a script. In order for them to be confident enough that this is a movie that they certainly wanted to make. But also, I think there's probably a little bit of maybe what James Gunn needs to do in order to make that script kind of fit a little bit more in-house to feeling like a part of the DCU. I mean, you kind of look at this when it comes to Thunderbolts, right? Thunderbolts had Eric Pearson, who did the initial script for Thunderbolts. But they eventually went ahead and took his screenplay and they handed it over to 2 additional writers to go ahead and tighten up the script. And there were some significant changes that were made. Eric Pearson talks about the idea that he had Taskmaster being in the whole entire film, but apparently the people that they wind up bringing in rewrote that movie, and we wind up getting some ideas from Eric Pearson that stayed in there, stayed true to the script. But also the tightening of things and some changing around from the initial 2 writers that we got after that wind up giving us sort of the final result. So the idea of having another writer come in to do a rewrite doesn't surprise me. I think if anything that surprises me, it surprises me because this is getting announced as the movie already has a production start date. Now, October is a really long ways away. To me, this feels like James Gunn saw the script, really loved it, and thought, we need to make this into a movie. Got everything that he needed from a director on board for liking the script, but understanding the idea that the script probably needs a little bit more work in regards to refining it to maybe fit what we're trying to do here. And it does make me wonder, will this script change or this new writer look, because he's done Drive, he's done Obi-Wan Kenobi, he's kind of worked in that IP franchise world a little bit. Maybe he's a little bit more studio friendly because we don't know what Mike Flanagan's entire script was. Maybe it was a legit horror film and it was so good he really wanted to make it, but there needs to be some levels of rewrite kind of going forward to make it feel like it lives in this world of the DCU. So this doesn't surprise me. The idea of having somebody else come in and do a rewrite, that is certainly not out of the norm when it comes to movie making. I think what some people are surprised by, like myself, is that this is being done when they already have sort of their production date kind of set. I don't think it. Look, I mean, what's this like? We're talking about like 5 months till they're ready to go. So I don't, and this is a lower budget movie. We're talking at $40 million here. So it's not like, oh my God, this rewrite is going to cause them to have to like make these big set piece changes in here, or special effects has to now start working overtime to kind of meet their deadline. With this already being sort of a slimmed down script and having somebody to come in and rewrite, I think 5 months is certainly more than certainly enough time. It feels like they have very strong bones to the script that are probably going to make it through all the way to production, but there is certainly some refining that definitely needs to go ahead and certainly kind of take place. So I can see this guy, you know, some people saying this is like a pay. I think Jeff Schneider, the online source, if you believe some of his work, says this is like a page 1 rewrite. That seems like a little bit too over the top for me, maybe in the sense of page 1, in the sense of, yes, he is going to go through the script, but page 1 rewrite sounds a lot more terrifying than the idea of like, hey, this guy's coming in and doing a second draft of the script, which it feels, you know, second, maybe third draft of the script feels more appropriate to me. page one redraft or rewrite sounds terrifying, but I honestly believe that this is just them building on the very strong bones that Mike Flanagan already certainly has set. So I'm not expecting Clayface to be delayed in any way, shape, or form. With James Gunn saying, hey, we're not going to go to production unless we have ourselves a really strong script and things are ready to go, I don't think James Gunn would put all this stuff on the docket in regards to officially announcing something if he felt like this rewrite was going to be so massive that they really had to completely kind of change course. So it does make me wonder, like, it does make me feel like this is going to be more DCU elements installed in here. Does that mean that we get a Batman in here? Is this going to be our first introduction to a Batman? Will there be a tease of a Batman, an official silhouette of a Batman somewhere that we get to see? That we'll definitely have to wait and see. But I'm not getting too worried or too concerned. Maybe as we get closer to October, if more stuff starts coming out, then maybe. But this, I trust James Gunn enough to stick true to his word in the sense of this is on the production slate now, which means we know what we're doing. We just need to tighten up the script a little bit more in certain areas to make it fit the overall world that we're currently in. So again, DC Studios is bringing in another writer to go ahead and rewrite Clayface. And again, it is not out of the norm to have people do second or third drafts of a script to go ahead and have it completely finalized and certainly ready to go. But I'm excited for it. The more and more I hear about Clayface, though, I really continue to get more excited about it. I am interested. Like the slate and the lineup so far of DC Studios is fascinating to me, and I am hoping that the next things that get developed, or like really start gaining some momentum, are things like a Brave and the Bold and a Paradise Lost, because I do think you do need the weight of your Trinity, or at least bigger characters, to really continue that level of anticipation and excitement. I think great movies will only get you but so far, until people really start like riding the streets in the sense of, I need my Batman, I need my my Paradise Lost. And James Gunn has said, regardless, 2027 we will get something Batman. A Batman will be on the big screen in 2027. Whether that ends up being the Batman Part 2, whether that ends up being Brave New World, who certainly knows. But James Gunn has come out and talked about, as far as development going, he is personally working on Brave New World and making sure that that movie kicks off. So I know he is working really hard behind the scenes to make that one happen. And I think he says there is continued production on Paradise Lost, which is coming along nicely. There have also been rumors that Anna Nogueira, who wrote Supergirl, might have also penned a Teen Titans script that was really good also. I don't think that they've confirmed that they've done casting or in heavy into pre-production or anything like that yet, but those seemingly are like the big three that are in production, coming up with announcements soon. The Sergeant Rock stuff, I think, might have gotten pushed to next summer. We'll see if that holds true, in the sense of that's the direction that they certainly still want to go. But I am hoping between the time that by the end of this year, I am hoping that there is further development on things like a Brave New World and a Paradise Lost, to get people excited for the potential of more of the Trinity being focused on kind of going forward. Because we got Superman, and then the next year you got Supergirl, which is fascinating that we're coming out with back-to-back supers to kick off the DCU, and then Clayface as a horror film in later or September of 2026. And they have talked about the idea of maybe only doing 2 live action films a year. And so it seems that might certainly set up 2026. It'll be interesting to see movie-wise what we wind up getting 2027 going forward. But I want to know your thoughts. What is your excitement level for Clayface? Coming in at a really low-budget film, while it definitely feels a little bit displaced in the sense of, wow, I'm surprised that they're actually doing a Clayface standalone film. I want to know your guys' thoughts in regards to a new writer being on board. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section box below. Next up, guys, let's get into some television or movie talk, I should say, separate from the DCU and the MCU, as The Conjuring is back in the news. This has been a film franchise that I've been really fond of, especially the main titles. The first Conjuring to me is a classic. The second one, a solid, enjoyable film to that of the first movie. But still an enjoyable one worth going back and watching, especially with the introduction to The Nun, which eventually went ahead and had some spin-off films of its own. The Conjuring franchise has made a lot of money, whether that be Annabelle or The Nun, and who knows if we get ourselves additional spin-offs. We also wind up having a third Conjuring film, if I'm not mistaken, a couple years back. I thought that was probably the weakest of the three, but we are coming back with a brand new one, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. We got ourselves a brand new Conjuring movie that's set to go ahead and drop. This one titled The Last Rites. They dropped a brand new poster here this week for us that I really love. The outline of the devil, but it's the silhouettes of both the Warrens upside down and forward facing, kind of blended together. Prepare for the end, as this is set to be sort of like the last film within I don't know if this is the last film within the franchise or the last film at least of the main titles. I am kind of curious to see if they actually continue on with things like The Nun or Annabelle kind of stories going forward. But this was a brand new poster that they wind up dropping. And if you missed it, they also dropped a brand new trailer as well. Let's go ahead and check out this trailer. This from our Facebook page. We posted this earlier this week, but let's go ahead and check this one out.
Don't touch anything. Everything you see in here is either haunted, cursed, or been used in some sort of ritualistic practice. Nothing's a toy. Not even the toys.
How many cases you guys had?
Cases.
My name is Ed Warren, here with my wife Lorraine.
Maybe 1,000.
Damn. Based on the true case files. I love it. I love this.
Every case is different.
I am a sucker for like movies based off of true stories. Now, whether or not you believe in the supernatural or not, the fact that there's some sort of reality in which this is based off in, like whether or not you believe it, the fact that this story actually kind of took place, like, you know, they had these interviews, they had these moments with this family clearly to them were experiencing something, whether or not you believe that this is all like contrived and sort of made up, who knows, but this was an actual event. And I am a big fan of those type of films that are inspired off of that type of stuff.
Every family's different.
Whoa, that was creepy.
Once we start, there's no going back.
Hell no. Hell no.
Anything can happen.
Nope. Nope. No. No.
And most likely anything will.
Yeah.
Whoa. Damn.
Something's changed.
Red rum. Red rum. Nah, nope. Nah, I'm good. I'm good. September 5th. September 5th. We got ourselves our next Conjuring film. Man, I gotta tell you, this feels like we're back to form here. Um, I don't know if I felt this excited for a Conjuring movie since the second one, but this feels like just a trailer alone feels like we're back to form for the Conjuring movies. I am glad that they also highlighted the idea that this was, in fact, the Warrens' last case that they wind up taking. One of the underlining currents, though, throughout the Conjuring is the main character in here, played by Vera Farmiga, for Lorraine Warren, like this underlying story of like things being attached to this family, that not only are they out there helping other families, but there's something that continues to follow the Warrens and their child. And Lorraine continues to get visions that something is kind of attached to them after all this time and continues to make their own life a little bit of a living hell. So the fact that they are, not only is there a main story going on with them helping other families, but that their family also has some level of trouble and disturbance kind of going on that needs to kind of be solved. And whether or not that plays into their own personal health and their well-being as they get older in their life, you know, who certainly knows. But I love the fact that they kind of tease that something's kind of unfolding with their own family, sort of like after all these years. But terrifying images. It looks like we might get a little Annabelle in here also. I don't know if she plays a brief role, but I will say I feel like every trailer that we've gotten for The Conjuring kind of already teases the idea of like they always got to go back to their museum, right? Like they always got to go ahead and show all these artifacts that they've acquired over time that could be haunted. These are not toys. We don't play with them, sort of thing. And I love that they tease like almost every iteration of whether that be from their own main title of The Conjuring or some of the spin-off movies. I do love that they at least, like, it's just a really great way to get the audience to not only remember, but if they are, people are brand new to this franchise, and a sense of understanding just how evil this room is and some of the things that they've kind of experienced in their life. But yeah, I really love the trailer, man. The trailer really got me excited. Some really terrifying moments in here that make me really excited for September. But not only that, but earlier this week, Entertainment Weekly also went ahead and dropped a brand new first look. Now, this is a really long ass article, so I'm not about to go ahead and dive into all of it for you, but I do want to highlight a couple of paragraphs in here. In regards to what we can kind of look forward to. It says, I felt strongly that the biggest, most emotional story we could tell was the most personal story. It says, the beating heart of this franchise is Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson playing Ed and Lorraine. I love their chemistry together. I truly do. I'm a big fan of Patrick Wilson, especially when he gets into his horror bag. So the fact that him and Vera have been attached at the hip for this, I really love their portrayals of the Warrens here. He says the family dynamic, the faith the characters have, and the faith that they have in each other are really things that drive this particular franchise. I do think that's what people love about it. At least for me and Peter Safran, it's really about finding a way to tell the stories of these characters and to wrap them up in the way that feels respectful to where we started with them. And they truly are the beating heart. I mean, it's one of the reasons why I continue to come back, because not only do I appreciate the stories that are being told, but I think what Vera and Patrick are really doing as the Warrens is just a really great, like, cinematic duo on screen. And regardless about how I felt about the last entry of The Devil Made Me Do It, I still think that they're the two best parts of those movies. Despite the mid-credit scene attached to The Nun 2 that features Wilson and Farmiga, The Last Rites is not a direct continuation of that movie, talking about The Nun 2, which was largely set in the 1960s. Chavez repurposes a sequence he cut from The Devil Made Me Do It for that ending tag, showing Ed and Lorraine answering the phone call from Father Gordon for their next assignment. Chavez told AEW around the time that The Nun released that it was meant to tease a little bit of the final Conjuring movie. So speculation ensued as to whether this meant that Maurice's case would be front and center for the Warrens' last case, or if Taissa Farmiga, who stars as Sister Irene in the Nun movies, would finally appear on screen beside her real-life sister, Vera, as Lorraine. Taissa is not in Last Rites, Chavez confirms, even though there were times that the filmmaker admittedly craved that kind of Avengers-level Farmiga family team-up. That really would have been pretty awesome, honestly. The Last Rites takes place in 1986, 5 years after the event of The Devil Made Me Do It. The Warrens retired from their exorcist business, largely due to Ed's heart attack, if you remember that from the movie, the one he sustained during the demonic happenings of the third film. They still hit the university circuit, presenting talks at various schools, but even those opportunities are drying up for this family. And this is in 1986. It says that Ed's got pretty beat up in the third one. So I honestly didn't want to be on death's door for this movie, is what Patrick Wilson says. First of all, there's no reason to be. He lived another 25 years, talking about the real Ed Warren died in 2006 at the age of 79. But retirement was interesting to me, the actor says. It was important to show the skeptics we're not in the middle of Amity where hauntings were everywhere. What is it like when we're not playing to big crowds? What does that do to them? Of course, certain events force them back into the fold one more time. It is interesting because he is right. When you get into the 80s compared to where they might have been, say, in the 60s, let me just double check. Amityville. So that was in the 1970s. Okay, so it definitely feels like times have changed, especially by the time you get into 1986. So the idea of the world being a little bit more skeptical is a fascinating one to kind of see how the Warrens live and kind of adapt in that world. It says the case at the center of Last Rites is one of their most famous events from Warren's career, the Smurl family haunting. According to the New England Society of Psychic Research, the occult investigating organization now run by Ed and Lorraine's real-life daughter and son-in-law, Janet and Jack Smurl moved their family into a duplex on Chase Street in West Pittston, Pennsylvania in the 70s. In the years that followed, the Smurls, including their young daughters and Jack's parents, claimed to experience supernatural occurrences ranging from strange odors and voices all the way to ghostly molestations. The Smurls' appearance on TV programs such as Larry King Live and Entertainment Tonight made it one of the most publicized cases of supernatural activity, but it also gave skeptics ammunition to say they sold out for the public spotlight. The story became the subject of the book The Haunted, One Family's Nightmare back in 1986, and a 1991 made-for-TV movie starring Sally Kirkland. So again, this is a real-life case that took place in the 80s. The fact that this family had television appearances, the article does go on to say this is like the most Googleable case that you can find when it comes to the Warrens. So if you want to learn a little bit more about the story itself before going to see the movie The Last Rite, I think that's probably a really great sort of first step. It says Safran notes how the Smurl case percolated on a regular basis as the filmmakers plotted the earlier films. It's one of the more Googleable ones, he says. it really fit the bill for us, being able to lean into something that audiences can go and Google after the movie. Oh, they really did have that many children. Oh, they really were this age, and the grandparents really were there. All of that stuff has always been meaningful to us. We know about this one for a long time, says Patrick Wilson, who watched many of the clips of their various TV appearances when he started preparing to play Ed since the very first Conjuring. He says then writers are playing around with how it affects the family and what's going on in the family's life. That's where we can really theatricalize it. We're not making a documentary. Judy Warren plays a big part in it. For Chavez, Ed and Lorraine's now fully grown daughter offers the real meat of the movie and gives the cinematic conclusion its emotional core. Yeah, Judy has been a prevalent part of this franchise, I want to say since the second one. So the fact that they're continuing her story there too, she says they're going to witness a moment in the Warrens' lives, and a pretty profound moment. It's a moment that makes time stand still. This one's different than the others. The other three were about hauntings. This one is about reckoning in a way. I'm really excited for this, man. I'm going to do my research in regards to the haunting itself for the Smurl family, but I am a really big fan of the idea of like there being a case that I can actually go back and Google and learn a little bit more about. Like, how does the credibility of those events kind of hold up? Maybe even go back and watch some of their interviews and kind of see how they're acting, how they're talking about this particular case, and then to be able to kind of see how they turn that into a theatrical experience. Like he says, this is theatrical. This is not us trying to make a documentary of those events sort of thing. So there's going to be a lot of elements in here of the Smurl family, of the Warren family, and how they theatricalize it and bring it to the big screen is going to be a fascinating one for me. So anytime you tell me it's based off of true story or true events, I'm usually there because I'm always kind of curious to see like how will they fantasticalize, if that's even a word, certain things. How true will they certainly be to the story? What liberties do they certainly take? But yeah, anytime that I watch like a UFO project or a supernatural project that's based off of true events, I always Google it to kind of learn a little bit more about the events. So check out the Smurl case if you guys are really fascinated for it. But I do think that when it comes to The Conjuring, we might be back to form, y'all. We might be back to form. But I'm really excited for this movie. I truly am. Blossom says, hauntings, Jizo Jody. Yeah, man. I don't know if you saw the trailer when I played it just a second ago, Blossom, but you might have to cover your eyes for it. It's pretty frightening trailer, but one that I'm really excited for. But yeah, guys, let me know your level of excitement for the final Conjuring movie, which is going to be sad, but great set of films. If The Conjuring, The Last Rites can hit, man, this is going to be just an incredible 4 films as a franchise as a whole that Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson was certainly a part of. So I really hope that they can stick this landing here. And last but not least, let's visit the world of John Wick, baby. There's been a lot of talk recently in regards to the future of the John Wick franchise. We've been having some really great announcements. I think they're supposed to be doing a John Wick spinoff of the character Kane that you see here to John Wick's right here, played by Donnie Yen, homeboy with the sunglasses. He's going to be getting his own spinoff film. The John Wick franchise is also going to be introducing us to an animated film as well that's going to be highlighting the impossible task that John Wick had to go ahead and complete in order to kind of get out from under the high table before we even get into John Wick 1. But not only that, but there has been talks that, yes, we are in fact getting ourselves a John Wick 5. How is that possible? Well, Chad Stahelski talked a little bit about it here this week in a new article from Empire Online, saying John Wick Chapter 5 will be a really different with a new story, teases Chad Stahelski. He says, now now we know he will indeed be back in the recently announced Chapter 5. But according to the director, Chad Stahelski, there'll be more to Wick's return than meets the eye. The saga of John Wick was pretty wrapped up, he admits to Empire. So the only way to do a 5 is to have a new story that involves John Wick. It's not a continuation with the High Table. John dealt with his grief. It will be really different. And everybody will see the trailer and go, holy F, I've got to see that. Of course we will. It's a John Wick movie. It says, for now, there's plenty more of the Wickiverse arriving in the meantime, not just Ballerina, which is set after Chapter 4, which is set after Chapter 3, and due to feature an appearance from Wick himself, and Donnie Yen's Kane spinoff movie, but also an animated project, and also an Under the High Table TV series. I don't even remember that. Those latter two in particular will lay the groundwork. So Ballerina and Donnie Yen's Kane spinoff movie will lay the groundwork to where John's story goes next. The John Wick TV show and the animation are big priorities. Our idea is to try some things and explore some threads and use those two properties to catapult us further into the ideas for John Wick 5. Time to schedule an appointment with the sommelier then. So yeah, they're going to be utilizing some of these spin-off projects to go ahead and push forward into really what will be the bones, I guess you can say, of John Wick 5 here. You know, I am really fascinated. Look, I personally have not watched John Wick 4 yet. I think I've got a personal thing, an issue that I haven't confronted yet with things ending. I have a terrible track record of finishing off season finales or last movies in franchises or projects. I don't know if it's the idea, like I just love these franchises so much I don't want to see them end, so I just never get around to watching like the final installment of these movies. But John Wick is definitely on my to-do list in regards to watching it for John Wick 4. But I am really fascinated as to what a John Wick 5 could potentially be. I mean, clearly there's going to be some action, but look, John Wick is, Keanu Reeves is getting older. He can't do some of the stuff that he certainly used to do. So I am kind of curious, like when he talks about it's going to be a new story, clearly John Wick will be involved. But what is the main story going to be circulating around? Is it going to be as action heavy as the other ones? Is it going to be more of a spy espionage thriller? Like, are they going to turn John Wick into like a different sort of genre altogether? Is this going to be a more introspective John Wick, a little bit of a slower paced film with maybe some action sequences? Are they going to bring in new cinematographers, new writers for this? I really have no idea where you go from here when it comes to, is it like John Wick in the afterworld? Is he like contemplating all his decisions that he's made? Like, is this John Wick in purgatory or some shit like that, where he's got to like battle his own inner demons and stuff? I really have no idea where we're going with this one, but Chad Stahelski feels pretty confident about it. I don't think you make a John Wick. Look, I know there's still a lot of money on the table, but I don't know if you make a John Wick if you and Keanu Reeves haven't come up with a really brilliant idea. And I really appreciate Chad's focus on just the Wickiverse, as they call it in here, in the sense of understanding the importance of, if you want to continue along with these franchises in this world, you really got to build up other memorable characters certainly around you. And to be able to do that with the Ballerina, Donnie Yen story as Kane, even the animated movie that they're going to be doing, and even the John Wick television series Under the High Table. I love the fact that Chad is at the forefront of focusing on the development of all of those. How those build up into something for a John Wick 5 that I certainly don't know about. But I'm kind of curious. If he's talking about it'll be really different. He says, look, the saga of John Wick was pretty wrapped up. So the only way to do a 5 is to have a new story. So this feels like the beginning almost of a brand new arc. I don't know if it's meant to be its own standalone brand new story, but it says a new story that involves John Wick. It's not a continuation. It will be really different, and everybody will see the trailer and go, holy F, I've got to see that. So it's definitely going to be something that stands apart, whether or not that's holy F because the action looks great, or holy F, it's just a really great concept and an idea of a story. We'll definitely have to see what that turns out to be. I have no idea where you go from here, but if you guys have a brilliant idea on how to continue with the John Wick story, I definitely would love to know your guys' thoughts in the comment section box below. Oh, also real quick, there was an update for the Donnie Yen movie also from Variety. It says Rina Sawayama to reprise role as Akira in Donnie Yen's John Wick spinoff Kane. Lionsgate launching sales in Kane's. So it says Akira is coming back for more John Wick ass kicking. Apparently she was a fan favorite as the fearless daughter in John Wick Chapter 4 will reprise her role opposite of Donnie Yen. So she is officially coming back if you guys were a big fan of hers in John Wick 4. But quick little update for you guys in regards to that movie is coming along. That movie is definitely going to be made. So it'll be interesting to see how that turns out. And with that out of the way, guys, that will wrap up all of our main topics today. And I think you guys know what time it is.
And now, everybody, it is time for live viewer questions.
And with that, we're going to be moving over to our live viewer question portion of the show. Let's go ahead and get this started for you guys. And if you guys ever want to submit a live viewer question over, let me show you how you do that. Every Saturday afternoon or Saturday evening, we will be dropping a live viewer question post. Just simply go over to our YouTube channel, as you see right here. Click on that post tab, and voila, live viewer questions. Got about 9 questions here today, or at least 9 entries. Let me get this set up here real quick. Let me get some music going. And give me 1 second to get this set up. I'll be right back. All right, here we go. Starting this off, my friends call me Joseph. Action star Jet Li has expressed that each visit to the U.S. brings back memories. Well, first off, let me know if you guys can hear me okay. I know sometimes it takes a minute for this to stabilize itself. But look, guys, as we go through these live viewer questions, hit that like button, share this video, let people know that we're live as we're set to go ahead and wrap up today's show with some live viewer questions. My friends call me Joseph. Action star Jet Li has expressed that each visit to the U.S. brings back memories of the late Aaliyah. Rest in peace, Aaliyah. His co-star in Romeo Must Die, often leading to tears. They share the screen in this action-packed adaptation of Shakespeare's classic love story. What do you think it was like for them collaborating on set? What kind of music might Aaliyah be creating if she were still with us today? You know, that's a good question. You know, I used to look at Aaliyah like classic R&B with like some hip hop elements for sure, especially with her collaborations with that of like Timberland. So I think she probably still would have turned out to be a really big pop star in that regard. Just looking at like how things have changed today, she could be as popular, if not, you know, somebody like Beyonce had she kind of stuck around. I personally think she was just that incredibly talented. I am kind of curious. I think Aaliyah, you know, we don't have R&B like we used to traditionally. So I would be interested to see like she would probably still be making some level of pop songs. So I think she still would be making music. I think at some point in time, though, she probably would have gone on to become more actor than performer, if that makes sense from the musical standpoint. She was it Queen of the Damned? I think was another movie that Aaliyah was certainly in. So I think she had the potential to really do anything that she could have set her mind to if she really wanted to. But she was doing music. She was already popular when she passed, unfortunately. And she was already kind of dabbling a little bit in the on the big screen also. So she might have been a real big dual threat in the sense of a really popular music creator, but also being in some, potentially some really great films as she became a better and better actor, as she had the opportunity to not be taken away from us as early as she certainly was. But yeah, man, I used to love Aaliyah back in the day. She was an incredible talent. It doesn't surprise me that Jet Li kind of tears up when he talks about her. That was a fun movie for back in the day for me. Jet Li was like, I don't want to say at the height of his stardom, but he was really starting to gain some momentum in regards to popularity and people knowing who he was kind of in the States. And to be attached with somebody as popular as Aaliyah, I think was a really good move on his part. Not the best film in the world, but a fun film. It's quite amusing to see Vin Diesel sharing such earnest advice like work hard and be humble on his social media. This contrasts sharply with the over-the-top, physiques-defining action that defines Fast and the Furious saga he leads. Given the stark difference between his public persona and the franchise's absurdity, does anyone else find this comparison particularly ironic? I mean, look, I don't know Vin Diesel as a person, nor do I really know like his personality. I don't really keep up with his own personal life, so I don't know how he is as a person. I don't, the over-the-top physique defining action to me doesn't necessarily take away from his comments, because I think being over the top and being defined by your physique doesn't necessarily mean that you work hard or that you're not humble. Like, you got to really work hard to be in that shape for sure. Now, sometimes when you are in that shape, it can lead to a big ego and whatever the case may be. But I'm sure that there are plenty of people out there that have that type of physique or over the top physique defining action in movies. They do tend to still be some levels of humble for sure. So I don't know if his advice on top of just what he performs as in his movies are ironic in that regards, or undercuts the advice that he's trying to give, so much as I think it would be if I knew Vin Diesel more on a personal level, what his personality was like, how he treats people in his real life. That is what I would be more concerned and worried about if he lives his life by that same particular earnest advice. Because from a movie standpoint, he could easily be work hard and be humble. His performances in movies, I don't think necessarily have anything to do with that, but it would be more or less his performance in life in regards to how he treats the people around him. That maybe that's the more ironic part of things. But again, I don't know Vin Diesel enough to really or keep up with his life or his antics to really know if work hard and be humble is something that he actually lives by himself these days, unfortunately. Marcelino, I already asked this, but I wanted to rephrase it so you can get a better understanding of what I'm asking. In regards to Legends of Tomorrow, I asked when you want a TV show to become stupid comedy and not take itself so seriously. But here's my revamp question. If a TV show were to start out serious with a serious tone and nature with very little comedy, when do you say this serious nature is terrible and is killing the show? Just become a comedy for future seasons and don't take yourself seriously. I don't know, honestly. I mean, I think if you... I mean, because like that really wouldn't make... I don't know if I would ever say that, honestly. Because like for me, my thing is, just because a serious tone is terrible and it's killing the show, it doesn't mean the idea of becoming a comedy is gonna then make your show successful. It may not. right? It may completely undercut what it is that you're trying to do as a show. Like if you start off a show serious nature, and that's the tone that you kind of set, I almost think if the show is just terrible in that regards, I don't know if anything will save it. You know, because then if you're like, well, we need to change course, but then you like, let's just make a comedy out of it. If you haven't set up characters in that world to even be comedic, or haven't shown any level of comedy, to then take those same characters and then all of a sudden try and make them comedic, I think the series itself would become even more awful. Whereas like at least Legends, I think you had somebody like a Ray Palmer, and you had somebody like was it Steele, I believe his name was, that had like some elements of comedic factor in there. Even Heatwave, to a certain extent, while dramatized, he definitely brought levity to the show. So it would make sense that you would then add like other comedy people to the show, to then switch course. So they already had that levity in there. It just wasn't like the main focus of the show. But if you do start off a show that is serious in nature, has a serious tone with very little comedy, I don't know if it makes it better. But then maybe that was my problem with Legends, was that it did have a dramatized tone to it. I don't know what the ratings were like, but it eventually did grow its own fan base. But for me, it kind of fell off. So I guess it would just depends on what my cast is like, what my characters are like. If I do have some elements of humor in there, maybe that's a route that I can go. But if I'm starting off this show like a CSI show or like a Law and Order show, and it doesn't do well, I don't know if the idea of me saying, okay, let's just change this into a comedy, I don't know if that would help at all. So when are you the type of person who advocates for a show to change its entire tone by becoming a stupid comedy after it established itself to be serious? The only time I would probably say that is if you already have those comedy elements instilled in the show, then maybe. But if you are going from a dead-ass serious drama-filled show, to change the comedy just won't work. But if you already have 2 or 3 characters in there that bring some levity to it, that transition may become a little bit easier and understandable for people. Then in that regards, then maybe. That's probably what I would say there. And sometimes it would work for some people. It didn't work for me when it happened in Legends, but for some people it did, and it had its fan base, and that's certainly worth recognizing. But I guess I would, when you say serious in nature, I'm thinking of like CSI. I'm thinking of like Law and Order. I think those would be terrible moves. In Black Lightning season 4, they introduced the character Ishmael, the assassin who wears camouflage and wields swords. He says his goal is to kill 100 metahumans so he can join the League of Assassins. This is interesting because League of Assassins were using Arrow previously as the main villains for season 3, but ultimately being disbanded. Any other factions were eventually either weeded or converted to being good. Many have said this felt like a continuity error, and the Black Lightning writers didn't do their research. This was post-crisis, so it's a possible history may have been rewritten a bit. But if that's the case, people's main problem was that it wasn't further explored or clarified. It felt like an offhanded line without any care of larger ramifications of the Arrowverse. But my question is, if Black Lightning got more seasons, do you think they would have addressed that line? Like maybe bring an actor from Arrow to address the situation? I felt like they would use a different villain organization from the comics, or even a new organization entirely, and this problem wouldn't happen. Especially since, to my knowledge, the writers knew this was going to be their last season, and there was no time to address the issue. You could be right. I mean, it could have been just a mishap of like they didn't do their research, but they knew the name League of Assassins was a catchy phrase, a big enough phrase utilized in the Arrowverse to some capacity. I mean, are the League of Assassins ever truly dead? Maybe there was an offset somewhere that nobody really knew about that was being brought up, sort of thing. I don't know, but do I think that they would have addressed that line? If Ishmael, I can't remember if Ishmael survived season 4 or not, but if he wasn't going to be around in future seasons, I think they probably would have just dropped it, and I would have been okay if they introduced another organization somewhere down the line for them to focus on. So no, I think it was probably something that would have probably easily just been glossed over. Unfortunately, it might have been a writing error, or maybe them not paying too close attention and just went with the name because of it being connected to the Arrowverse and it being a relatively big name. But I think they probably would have just glossed over it, unfortunately, had the season continued and moved on to another organization eventually. They probably could have used a different villain organization for sure. You have been vocal about your disagreement about turning villains into anti-heroes, but is there a villain who has been a villain for decades only been turned into a hero that you actually like? Also, is there one where you think they work better as a hero than they ever did as a villain? Let me see. Villains turned anti-hero. The rise of anti-hero. Let's see. Oh, the Winter Soldier's a great one. In regards to villain that's been turned anti-hero into hero, I think Winter Soldier's a great one. They also have Deathstroke on this list. I like him as a villain. If they were trying to ever make him like an anti-hero, let me look at your question again. Is there a villain who has been a villain for decades only to be turned into a hero that you actually like? So I prefer Deathstroke as a villain. I don't want him as a, I wouldn't have preferred him as a hero. Harley Quinn makes sense. Harley Quinn's on this list. I kind of like that. And they also have Punisher on this list. While I enjoy Punisher as the anti-hero, I wouldn't have minded him staying a villain. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. But I think he's like the antithesis of a great anti-hero for sure. Not full-on hero, but definitely anti-hero. So I kind of like that. I think Winter Soldier's a great addition of somebody that was a villain turned to hero that I'm a big fan of. I think the two on this list, Winter Soldier and Harley Quinn, are really great examples of villains. I was okay with the idea of being transitioned from villain to hero. Deathstroke being on here, no, I want Deathstroke to stay a main villain. How about Magneto? Magneto in recent years has become more of a hero, and people really do like him as a hero. I do like Magneto too. I think Magneto has that ability, honestly, of going like back and forth. I think he's one of those rare characters that can go back and forth. Punisher debuted as a super Spider-Man villain, right? So he started off with a villain, but that was only out of misunderstanding, not out of pure evil, which is why I'm kind of okay with Punisher being sort of in that anti-hero sort of category. Had he become straight on hero? Probably not, but I like him in the anti-hero persona. But Magneto is another great one. I'm glad you brought him up, Marcelino. Most talented man in the world. Despite the return of Arnold Schwarzenegger and Linda Hamilton and James James Cameron involvement as a producer and co-writer for Terminator Dark Fate's shocking early death of John Connor dramatically altered the established timeline, leading Sarah Connor down a path of vengeance and forging an unlikely alliance with the T-800 that killed her son, now living as Carl. The film introduced a new generation of heroes, including the future soldier Grace and a resistance leader Danny Ramos, played by a predominantly Hispanic young cast, utilizing modern CGI to briefly resurrect younger versions of the iconic trio. Given James Cameron's disagreement with the film's direction and its ultimate box office failure, could the controversial narrative choices, killing off John Connor, the prominent Hispanic representation in new lead roles, and the two T-800 assimilation into human life, along with the resilient reliance on CGI for the original characters, having significantly contributed to the disappointment performance? I don't think so. Who was the writer on that? I think it has everything to come down with the script. I don't know if I would have killed off John Connor. The representation, assimilation into human life. I don't know if the reliance of CGI, I mean, look, CGI I don't think was the best, but the reliance of CGI, the Hispanic representation, all that I don't think contributes to a disappointing performance. I think it comes in really in the strength of the script. So maybe revisiting the killing off of John Connor, maybe the concept of the next version of your the T whatever hundreds, the idea of them assimilating into human life, maybe it could have been different ways. So like those two have a lot more to do with the script than anything else, and a script is always going to be key. If you don't have a strong script, it's not going to get you anywhere. It doesn't matter what the representation is or anything like that. I think those are two really big script factors that they probably have to go back to the drawing board and figure out for themselves. So I think those two things might have contributed, but it really comes down to how tight your script is. And if you don't have a great script, then yeah, it's going to fall off. A form of payoff to the original vision, according to interviews with James Bates. Shout out to Power of the Morphing Grid here. Head writer of both seasons of Samurai and Megaforce, his time with Power Rangers, particularly during Samurai and Super Megaforce, was marked by creative friction stemming from Jonathan Zacker's staunch adherence to the Japanese source material. Bates notes his story editor was a translator to Jonathan. Shinkinger is a great show. Why change it too much? There are things that appeal to him, like the kids would be ancestral samurai that were sequestered with their mentor in a beautiful set. He saw what he thought was working in the show and was just sticking very close to it. Okay. This approach led to significant rewrites and production pressures during Samurai, though Bates did find elements like Decker's storyline compelling, stating, I mean, Decker, what a great character to write. Yeah, I love Decker. I don't know why he's wearing a tuxedo in his wedding flashback, but he was an amazing character to write. Later during Megaforce, Zacker's focus on directly incorporating Gokaiger footage over narrative coherence frustrated Bates. Gokaiger wasn't something we wanted to stick with, but they were assets that existed. We had marching orders to combine the two shows. We couldn't completely do Gokaiger, which I think everyone in the world likes better as a source series. Yeah, me too. Gokaiger is a love letter to the fans. I wanted the same thing for our anniversary season. Even the return of Robo Knight felt mishandled, though Bates reflected, boy, am I happy that we were able to do it because we aren't creating a bunch of new footage. To be able to come back with Robo Knight, who I love, and to give him that noble goodbye, adding, in my mind, that's how he says goodbye. Bates left the production of Megaforce after filming the Jungle Fury tribute season episode, Spirit of the Tiger, with Zacker then overseeing the editing process, including the inclusion of the unadapted new power suits. It's worth noting that Zacker had been attempting direct Sentai adaptations since Lightspeed Rescue, and Samurai and Megaforce were the first seasons without the involvement of Chip Lin as a head writer, a figure known for successful seasons like In Space, Lost Galaxy, and Time Force, and even took over RPM. Years later, Dino Fury retroactively addressed some of these issues by establishing the Green Morphing Master as a source of Megaforce's powers, a notion subtle reinforced by Gia's return as the Megaforce Yellow Ranger, and the Beast Morphers episode Source Code, which Nate Silver was shown studying the Gosei Morpher without the Gokaiger Morpher, implying the legendary keys were reverted back to Morphers and returned to their rightful owner during the legendary battle, similar to Gokaiger. Given this retroactive closure, one might wonder if Bates, who desired a true anniversary celebration akin to Gokaiger, would have found a fulfilling creative experience in collaborating with Simon Bennett and Hasbro, or even Cosmic Fury compared to his challenging tenure of Zachar's executive guidance. Oh, I think he would have had a blast. I think he would have had a creative blast with Simon Bennett and Hasbro. And I think he probably could have offered some really great advice in regards to adapting things even a little bit better. I would have really loved that combination to kind of see him and Simon Bennett work together a little bit. But yeah, he would have had a field day for sure. For sure. Jessica Fryman, what do you think Korra could have possibly done to make the world of Avatar hate the Avatar soon? What do you think Korra could have possibly done to make the world hate the Avatar so much? And what are your thoughts on the network canceling most of all of their scripted shows? And when you think the new season of X-Men 97 will come out? So I can't answer the core question for you because I unfortunately just didn't watch the show. What are your thoughts on networks canceling most, if not all, of their scripted shows? I mean, I think there's still some scripted shows happening on network television that tend to be kind of successful. I mean, I feel like Law and Order and these CSI shows, and there's another one out there, Rescue 911, or is it 911? I think is another show. Grey's Anatomy is going on their like 100th season at this point in time. So I think some shows still have the ability to be successful, but you know, I guess it really just depends on what the network wants to provide for themselves. Like I think CW is getting rid of a lot of their scripted shows and turning to more non-scripted shows. I guess it's, you know, I think linear television, like network television, like the channels that you can get on your local television if you have like a digital antenna and stuff, I think those are fine. I think if anything, I know cable is taking a drastic hit right now, but yeah, a lot of shows are just moving over to streaming. It's just a different way of watching television these days, unfortunately. When do I think a new season of X-Men 97 will come out? I'm expecting it to drop in 2026. Whether it be summer or fall, that I don't know, but I am expecting season 2 in 2026. Marky Parko. The sweeping changes under James Gunn's DC Universe reboot have sparked considerable debate among fans regarding the fate of familiar faces. While the slate is largely being wiped clean, the idea of retaining certain actors in fresh iterations of their previous roles holds a certain appeal, particularly those who resonate with audiences despite the performance of their individual films. The recent announcement of Jason Momoa's return, not as Aquaman, but as the iconic Lobo in the upcoming Supergirl movie, serves as a fascinating example of this approach in action. This decision suggests a willingness to leverage established talent in new and exciting ways rather than a complete abandonment of all that came before. Given this precedent, what other DCEU actors might be reimagined in new roles within Gunn's vision for the DC universe? Man. That's a good question. Give me a minute here. I'm going to look at DCEU movies, see if I can get a lineup of all of them. I don't want to bring Henry Cavill back. I don't want to bring Gal Gadot or Ben Affleck back. I think you might be able to get away with some Suicide Squad members. I don't know if I want to bring anybody back from Wonder Woman. Let's see here. Suicide Squad cast. Technically, they've already brought back somebody in regards to Jai Courtney, who played Boomerang again in the brand new Suicide Squad movie. We also got Viola Davis, who's certainly back. But if we're talking about taking characters from the movies and reintroducing them sort of as completely brand new characters, let's see. Ooh, Birds of Prey you might be able to get away with. Yeah, you know what? I wouldn't mind having Journey Smollett back in some way, shape, or form. I actually wouldn't even be opposed to Ewan McGregor in some way. I think those would be two really great two actors that you can certainly bring back. In what roles? That I don't know. But just from actors that I would like to see have another go at it, absolutely. Yeah, those are probably, off the top of my head, those are probably the only two that I would kind of bring back, because some of the other people that I would like to see come back are already there. Like Jolo Mataduena is going to reprise his role as Blue Beetle. I don't really care to have Zachary Levi back. Maybe Grace, who played Miss Marvel. Maybe you can bring her back in another role. Yeah, those would be some of the ones off the top of my head that I would be okay with. Doomsday. I might make your questions last, Doomsday, so I'll come back. I'll come back. Peg C, what are your thoughts on Warner Brothers Discovery restructuring to separate its linear TV businesses like CNN, TBS, TNT, HDTV, and Food Network from its streaming service and studio operations like Max and Warner Brothers Studios? This separation, expected to be completed by mid-2025, is aimed to enhance strategic flexibility and potentially paving the way for future spinoffs or acquisitions. You know, I'm kind of okay with it. I do wonder if this is also for just financial reasons in regards to being to keep themselves above water. Like, I wonder if the TV business is kind of drowning Warner Brothers in a sense of like maybe they're making profit in other areas, but they have like a deficit from the TV business. So maybe it's like an anchor that's holding them back from profit that they want to see. So I'm kind of okay with the idea of Warner Brothers wanting to focus more on just like high-end television in the sense of like HBO, Max streaming stuff, and then movies. I would be completely okay with that. And just where we are when it comes to television, like it was always already weird for me when I would open up the Max profile that there was like a portion for like TBS, TNT, Food Network, and things like that, HDTV. I don't know what happens with that or what they eventually kind of turn into. Do they just go back to being cable? You know, you bring up the idea of like acquisitions. You know, they could become like a whole new streaming service altogether for those television shows if they wanted to. Maybe rebrand themselves as a different name and entity, and maybe acquire with other companies that might be dropping off some of their TV acquisitions as well. Maybe they start a brand new like cable company. I really have no idea, but I kind of like the idea of separating them and allowing them to become their own thing. And I think it'd be cool to kind of see what the TV side of things becomes. So I'm okay with it. What are your thoughts on Matt Reeves reportedly exiting as director of the Batman sequel? So I haven't heard him officially announce that he's exiting. In fact, I did see a post from James Gunn. Somebody asked if Matt Reeves was still directing it, and James Gunn confirmed that yes, he is, and this was within like the last 2 days. So I know the website Production Weekly has Matt Reeves as the writer, but they don't have anybody listed as the director. And so people are under the impression that Matt Reeves has reportedly exited the Batman sequel and that they're not going to have Matt Reeves back. So I just want to say that this is taken certainly with a grain of salt, because as of right now, according to James Gunn, Matt Reeves is still set as the director of the Batman Part 2. Now, that's not to say that that can't change, but there seems to be some uncertainty in the air as of right now, despite James Gunn's confirmation that Matt Reeves is going to be there. And maybe it's just the idea that Production Weekly just doesn't know because of some of the rumors that are speculating and surrounding Matt Reeves right now in regards to him clearly dealing with something in his life. People certainly don't want to bring it up or talk about it. Something is going on with Matt Reeves, but they'll leave it up to Matt Reeves to report it whenever he certainly wants to. So is there a possibility that he exits as the director? Yes, but I don't believe it's being reported that he is confirmed to not be the director right now. James Gunn has confirmed that Matt Reeves, as of today, is still the director. And when he exits, I'm sure it'll be more official. But yeah, so we'll see what happens. If he does exit the Batman sequel, it'll definitely be a bummer. But as long as he writes it, and as long as they can find a director that kind of fits sort of that tone and style of maybe what Matt Reeves was able to do, or maybe bring a fresh vision to that same quality level of storytelling that Matt Reeves can do, maybe we can still have a really great Batman sequel. There have been plenty of cases of like a director starting off a franchise and then somebody coming in to handle the sequel, and it still be sort of like just as good. I mean, you can look at the original Star Wars. George Lucas directed the first one. He didn't direct the second or third one. He had other directors come in, but it was still his story. So if Matt Reeves doesn't direct, I don't think it's the end all be all. I think Matt Reeves' writing is more important than anything. So we'll see. We'll definitely keep you guys posted, but it's nothing official as of right now. Pioneer exits optical disc market after 45 years in the business. What are your thoughts? Yeah, this is just going back to digital. You know, it seems like everything is really going more digital. Another sort of physical media idea of aspect of things kind of going out of the market. I don't know if there's other people that, maybe there are other companies that do optical discs, but as we get further and further into the digital age, that physical media unfortunately starts dying off. I wonder if it has anything to do with like just sales or declining. I have no idea. Blossom, sorry I'm late. Remember you showed us how Leader was supposed to look before the movie gave us the other guy? He looks a lot like his 1996 self, doesn't he? Oh yeah, absolutely. It felt very true to the Leader persona or his appearance. I think they should have stuck with the original plan. I think so too. I kind of would have. I know there are some pushback. Some fans, didn't really care for that particular design, but I was a big fan. I preferred that version over what we end up getting. I'm sure some people probably feel differently, and that's certainly more than fine. But I like the version that they officially came up with. I would have made some changes. Like, while it's just a really big extended forehead, I wouldn't have minded adding some of the bumps and scales or warts or whatever the case may be that he had in his final design. Added a little bit to the original design. I think there was a much better middle ground that we could have gotten than from both of those designs that we got. But I agree with you. I would have stuck with the original one. Do you remember Emperor Z from Tokuger? My best friend and I were thinking he was orphan 13-year-old old who believed in the Power Rangers when no one else did, but was teased about it. He was hurt, and the Nightmare episode used the darkness they collected in some of the Emperor's memories and turned him into Zet's monster form. How's that? I kind of dig it. Bullying is a real thing. That certainly could have, bullying can certainly be an inspiration to the turn for sure. Being teased as a kid can certainly leave a scar, and kids these days are just brutal, bro. They're just mean as F. So yeah, maybe you can put in a bullying theme for somebody having a open and huge imagination, kind of being teased. I can easily see that, and then that brewing within somebody for such a long time. Yeah, that would work. And then last but not least, we've got Doomsday. What's up, Doomsday? Do you feel like saying that Thunderbolts was the best MCU movie since Endgame is a bit of a stretch, considering Marvel has had a few bangers here and there? To name a few, for example, we had movies like Spider-Man, No Way Home, Doctor Strange Into the Multiverse of Madness, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, Guardians of the Galaxy, Ant-Man 3, in my opinion, Eternals, also in my opinion, Deadpool and Wolverine, and Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, which is also underrated nowadays. And I feel like people gloss over bangers we've had and just focus more on the flop that to claim that they weren't truly good movies since Avengers Endgame. I will say the one that's really on the top of my list that I think out of all these movies tops Thunderbolts is definitely Spider-Man No Way Home. Definitely. I love Spider-Man No Way Home still to this day. I think another movie, there are two other movies up here. For some reason, Shang-Chi and the Legends of the Ten Rings jumps out at me. It's been a minute since I've watched that film. It might be close to Thunderbolts to me. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, I think, is a little bit underrated. It's convoluted at times, but it's a little bit underrated. I still think Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is, I don't know if it's the best of the trilogy, but it's definitely second best to me. And I still like Wakanda Forever, even though I think it certainly takes a little bit of a backseat to the first Black Panther movie. I like Thunderbolts better than Deadpool and Wolverine, definitely better than Ant-Man, definitely better than Eternals. I'd probably say I like Thunderbolts even better than Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I probably like it better than Wakanda Forever. I think for me, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 and Shang-Chi are probably the other two I might put evenly with Thunderbolts, or maybe just above Thunderbolts. I'm not quite sure as of yet. I might want to go back and rewatch some of these films. I just don't think it's the best since Endgame, but because I would easily put Spider-Man No Way Home above that. I don't think it has a lot of competition after that, but I think you could put maybe one other movie or two other movies ahead of it. Maybe. That's a maybe. Do you feel like Thunderbolts could be served as a good therapy session, considering how it tackles deeply into mental health awareness? The message about confronting your past and moving forward really resonated with me, as I've faced many challenges in school due to the countless times I've screwed up and I've often been difficult to move past. Sometimes it gets to the point where I wanted to beat myself up for it, but this movie definitely taught me to forgive myself and move forward with my life. It's definitely a film I didn't think I needed until I got it. Let me just say, Doomsday, I'm really glad that the movie spoke to you the way that it did. You know, that's the power of cinema really showcasing itself when you've got a really great, just a really great story and a movie worth needing to be told. And yeah, I do think it'd be used as a good therapy session, based off of its mental health awareness message. You know, I think we just live in a really difficult time right now. And I think the idea of mental health it gets overshadowed a lot. I think people say it a lot, like mental health, but I don't know if people really fully have embraced it yet and its importance, but it is important. And I think, I know people personally that struggle with mental health, whether that be depression, whether that be anxiety, whether that be like feeling excluded from everything or feeling lonely. I mean, I really do believe that there's like a loneliness epidemic happening, whether that be for men or just people in general. That I think that this movie sort of really speaks to. There is this importance of, there's a really great line of in here where Red Guardian says something along the lines of, like Yelena, like we all have those resentments or something like that. And she says, yeah, but I have so many, like there are a lot of things that people have done in their lives, or feel like they've made mistakes, or feel like they're not good enough, that they hold on to. And that stuff really like eats at you, and it just builds and builds and builds. And those resentments and those struggles that you hold on to really affect other things in our everyday lives, that until we're willing to pull back all those layers and really figure out why it is that we feel those ways, it's always going to make our life that much more difficult. I've always been an advocate for seeking therapy and paying attention to your mental health and learning some concepts of sort of self-awareness. And I think this movie does a really good job too. And like, the only way that you get over some of that stuff is finding a bigger connection, not doing it alone. Having, not everybody has a great group of friends or a good family system. Maybe you've got one of those two at some point to kind of help you out. But, to traverse this world alone is so difficult. And to feel like you got to keep all that stuff bottled up without asking for help is really difficult. And it's something that I think we all kind of struggle with. So I am glad that this movie tackled it, because to have a character like the Sentry, aka the Void, be like the literal physical embodiment of feeling like you've got a void inside of you, of the emptiness and the loneliness and being stuck in your own thoughts, I think really resonates with a lot of people. And I think that's why this movie is as successful as it is, and it's getting great word of mouth, and people are going to see this movie. So I do think this is a great, not only therapy session, but also bringing awareness to the idea that it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to have people there for you, that you don't have to necessarily do this alone. Because when we get into those feelings, that's all we want to be, is alone. And we really got to shake that and seek some help. And so, yeah, I really do think this will be one of those films for sure. With Phase 5 of the MCU coming to a close, how would you rank Phase 5 movies from worst to best? Man. Let's see. How many movies have we had? Is that it? No way. So Ant-Man and the Wasp, Guardians of the Galaxy 3, The Marvels, Deadpool and Wolverine, Brave New World, and Thunderbolts. Those are our Phase 5 movies. Let me see. What was Phase 4 then? Phase 4 was Black Widow, Shang-Chi, Eternal, Spider-Man No Way Home, Doctor Strange, and then, okay, so it ended with Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. Okay, so if we're talking strictly Phase 5, all right, Phase 5, worst to best. I'm going to go Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, Captain America, Brave New World, The Marvels, Deadpool and Wolverine, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and Thunderbolts. And Thunderbolts might be, maybe that's recency bias. Maybe I'll have to go back and rewatch Guardians of the Galaxy 3. But from least, like worst to best, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, Captain America: Brave New World, The Marvels, Deadpool and Wolverine, Guardians of the Galaxy 3, Thunderbolts. That would be my ranking. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comment section. How you guys would certainly rank your Phase 5 movies. I was sitting here thinking to myself, The Marvels and Captain America: Brave New World. There are elements of Captain America: Brave New World I was a big fan of, but it just felt so disjointed for me. And there are aspects of the relationships from the Marvels that I was a much bigger fan of, along with the action sequence that we wind up getting. So yeah, I stick to that. For Phase 5. But let me know your guys' thoughts. If you had to put your top 5 and rank your top 5 movies from, or not top 5, but if you had to rank your Phase 5 movies, how would you rank them? I definitely want to know in the comment section box below. But ladies and gentlemen, that will do it for all of our live viewer questions. Let me just refresh this just to make sure I didn't miss anybody else's, but I think I got to everybody here today. Yeah, we definitely did. Awesome, guys. Thank you guys so much for continuing to join us each and every week and for some great questions here for our live viewer questions as always. Remember, we'll always drop these for you guys Saturday afternoon or Saturday evening. So certainly go ahead and look out for that next week. What's on the docket this week? Let's see. I might try and catch a movie this week. There might be a couple of movies out. One, there's a Josh Hartnett movie I want to try and catch, Fight or Flight. That's currently out right now. I might want to check that one out. Maybe I might try and see Thunderbolts again. I'm not quite sure. We do have Final Destination that drops this upcoming week on Thursday. That might be worth seeing. I haven't really seen a lot of the Final Destination films lately, so I don't know if I need to have seen those in order to truly appreciate Final Destination Bloodlines. I'll try and do some more research to see if I need to. Otherwise, I might check out Bloodlines. I really enjoyed the trailer itself. Maybe it might be a fun film, getting back to its roots in some way. So I might check out Fight or Flight and Bloodlines this week. And if so, I might have some movie reviews for you guys later on in the week. We have our season finale and wrap up of Andor season 2. We go live every Thursday at 10 p.m. Central Time with our Jedi High Council to go ahead and talk about the Andor series. So we will be doing that for you guys. Probably going to be dropping a couple more shorts throughout the week as well. And really any big videos, news or reviews for any trailers that we might get. If we do get ourselves a brand new Superman trailer later this week, you can definitely expect a review from us. And anything else that we find certainly newsworthy to talk about here on our YouTube channel. So if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, if you like our content, short form or long form, I highly suggest hit that subscribe button, guys. It's completely free for you guys. Hit that like button for a lot of our content. If you love what we're doing here at our channel, it definitely helps us out in regards to helping us grow. If you want to follow us on social media, you can do so right here at A+ Opinions. Let me bring this up here for you. Right here at A+ Opinions everywhere on social media. Very active over, especially on our Facebook page. That's where we drop all the news throughout the week, news articles, behind the scenes featurette stuff for you guys, new posters, trailers that drop, photos, exclusive photos. We drop everything throughout the week over there to keep you up to date. And then we take a couple of topics from there and we talk about them here to certainly wrap up your weekend. So follow us, especially over on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also follow us on TikTok if you want at Hero Report, and a ton more, guys. Hopefully we'll have Indy and Stuart back next week. But until then, that will do it for me here. I'll certainly see you guys later this week. Enjoy your Mother's Day. Shout outs to all the moms out there for sure. And until next time, do me a big favor, as always, guys. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep it A+. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.